Welcome everybody to Trek Retrek, hailing frequencies open. We are live all the way from Starbase 1. I'm Captain Johnny.
You almost forgot it. I'm Ensign Kayla.
We are joined by Ambassador Andrew from Gayties Toys. Welcome.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
We will also be having another ambassador joining us shortly, as soon as we get some
he was in the chat.
technical stuff worked out. We are here to we are here to talk about. There he is.
This ambassador got lost in transport. My molecules were not correctly reassembled. Apologies.
You are forgiven. Thanks for joining us. Are we all excited to talk some Trek, some season 2 Strange New Worlds Trek?
Damn right.
Sweet. All right.
Should we say hi to people?
No.
No? All right.
Just kidding.
It's not very Federation of you, but sure.
I just shoved so much lasagna down my mouth and stomach, so I go into a food coma.
Kayla's gonna fall asleep halfway through the stream.
Garfield effect.
She's gonna get court-martialed.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Let's say hi. Let's be nice.
Shiny plastic people, welcome. Cobweb, Thanos Copter, Ambassador Brick doing double duty.
DP.
Ensign Kayla doing double duty.
That'd be DD, but yes.
Geek the F out doing double duty.
I know, but I just gotta DP it. All right.
Everybody loves a little DP. I don't drink soda anymore.
Exactly. Ayo. I do love Dr. Pepper.
We have that.
Yes. Anywho, all right, so let's get started with a little bit of your guys' background with Trek. If you want to talk about your history with the show and franchise, when you got into it, what your favorite iteration of Trek is, blah 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 blah. If you want to go ahead, Brick first.
Oh, sure. So I was born into a family with an older brother and sometimes father who would watch Trek. So the original Trek was kind of on syndication pretty much all the time. It felt like. I grew up in the LA area. I was just talking to someone about this last night, that we could actually get a lot more channels, I think, than other markets. And so for whatever reason, it was always on. But honestly, I haven't done what the mission that Ensign Kayla and Captain Johnny are currently on, really just going straight through. My real deep, I guess, sort of interaction with Trek was really through the original movies that I saw, starting with Khan, in theaters as a kid, being sort of brought to those. And then when I really started really sort of registering was in, what was it, 87, The Next Generation? I was a 5th grader, and I remember it because it was a couple days. So I just remember the October 1st Whittier earthquake. That was my first earthquake I remember it because I was waiting for school, watching the recording from a couple of days ago of the premiere of Star Trek, rewatching it because I loved it. And even though, season 1 was just sort of, was cool, but after that, man, I was watching every single episode as it aired, and then it was DS9, and then it was Voyager, and that's kind of was my thing. And I actually have pretty much watched everything since then. The big current gap is actually the animated show on Nickelodeon that's current, and the Lower Decks. I've watched a little bit of Lower Decks, but other than that, I'm pretty much
get it right.
Pretty much versed. So that's where I'm at. And
Prodigy
in general,
is a lot better than I expected it to be. It's definitely worth checking out.
Yep, I watched a couple episodes and enjoyed it.
Yeah. Prodigy was like, it took me 3 times to get into it, and by the third time I said, okay, like I see where you're going, and I'm into it now. So unless they make season 2, because I don't know if that's happening anymore.
Yeah, that's a whole
Sometimes it
thing.
sometimes it just takes a couple times.
Mhm.
Hi Quip. Hi Nolan.
Anything else,
Master
Brick, or
Verso-
does that
Why
cover
is
it?
this?
That pretty much covers it. I mean, I really enjoy it. I've dressed up in Next Generation a uniform for Halloween twice.
Amazing.
So yeah, I mean, I love a lot of different sort of genre stuff. So, but Trek was always sort of like this, at least for I don't know, I was gonna say my generation. I don't know. I mean, I'm old, but for there's a period where that was pretty much
You're not
like
that
one of
old.
the flagship genre things, sci-fi things. And there was a period where that, and I'll say it, Star Wars sort of like ruled the science-y fiction-y conversation. So yeah, that's it.
Amazing. Love.
Okay.
All right, Andrew, tell us your Trek history.
What would I say? I'd love to tell you, like, me and my grandpapa used to watch Star Trek by the fire before the wolves took him. But no, I hated it. I like because we had the original series on CBC here in Canada, and I'd watch that every Sunday. And my much older father and much older, like my very ancient brother and father compared to me, just loved it because they were like born around that time, and they were like obsessed with it. And I remember like I liked the movies, but I didn't really get into it. But the come to Jesus moment was at a department store. I was in the toy store, the toy section. Playmates had just put out their next gen figures, and
Ooh.
for me, clearly, to have a little plastic trophy makes it a little more real. And so I remember picking up like the Counselor Troy figure of all of them, and she was this like just busted drag queen with this big bad wig, and on the back of her bio card it said, she and Riker used to bang, and they're trying to, be friends now. And I was like, workplace drama.
What?
Like, tell me more.
Damn.
And so
Okay.
like for whatever reason, like Troy kind of like kicked this like kind of interest off, and from there that was probably like the height of the next gen popularity, and Deep Space Nine and Voyager were just around the corner. So I mean, I went in, gobbled it up, and then yeah, since then, I mean, it's just sort of just been this like hallmark of all the franchises that I like, I'm always on top of. And likewise with the new Trek, as it's called. I think I've watched everything. I've watched Prodigy. I quite like Lower Decks, but I like cartoons, so that's just this was sort of in my wheelhouse. I like the animated series. I watched that over the pandemic finally,
Nice.
and it's
Nice.
terrible, but I loved it for what it is.
Sometimes you just gotta, even with, sorry, the original series right now, sometimes you just gotta look at it from the lens of that time and you'll appreciate it a little bit more. A little bit.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And that was the thing too with the next gen, is that like it was a little, I felt like at the time it was a little more adult, and that's sort of, that was my intro, and that's sort of my first, my real love of the whole franchise. But
Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid, Star Trek was so like beat you over the head with analogy that I was, a little, even as a 5-year-old, I'm like, I'm a little turned off by this. But next gen was like the grown-up Trek. Is that I felt like as a scrappy teenager was more, it spoke to me more. So that's I think it was the perfect time for the show, for the whole franchise, or the mythos. It was really good for that, but it was also good for me because I was, know-it-all teenager who wanted to know it all.
Awesome. All right. Shall we get into it? We're gonna start with just like general initial thoughts about season 2, and then we'll get into more of the nitty-gritty of it. Johnny, do you want to go first?
Sure. It's great. No notes. Based on, because I was looking through, I went through and compiled our rankings of the individual episodes, and like on the one hand, because I look at them like there's a lot of Captain and Commander ranked episodes, and if anybody's not familiar with our ranking system, we just rank it on not on whether it's good, great. I mean, that's part of it, but it's just like, if it's ensign, you can safely skip that episode. You're not missing anything. If it's lieutenant, if you have the time, watch it. If it's commander, you should go out of your way to watch it because it's definitely worthwhile. And if it's captain, we consider it a must-watch episode. Like, if you are just looking for the essentials, yeah, I do want TOS Cup Watch
for the
2023. If you're just looking for the essentials, watch the captain ranked episodes. We gave out lots of captains and commanders.
We did
this season. And on the one hand, I'm like, are we being too generous? But then on the other hand, I'm like, no, because this shit's great.
Yeah.
It's an interesting, because we haven't, until Discovery, we didn't have any Trek really since Enterprise. And Discovery tried to do what is the norm in TV production now, which is like season-long arcs, one long story. And Strange New Worlds is a return to Trek's original formula, episodic stories with a little bit of connective tissue between them and an overarching plot, but every episode can stand by itself. And I think that's really where it's succeeding. Compared to, because Discovery had a lot of criticism. I watched it. I thought it was fine. I didn't hate it like a lot of people seem to, but I definitely did not like latch onto it the way I have onto Strange New Worlds. I think Strange New Worlds is the best Trek since Next Generation. A lot of people will go, well, what about DS9? DS9's great in its own way. It doesn't appeal to me the way that Next Gen does. Maybe part of that's nostalgia. Maybe part of that's just my preferences. But Strange New Worlds is quickly becoming my number 2 Star Trek series. And that's, I'm talking about the thing as a whole, but specifically this season too, we gave it really good rankings. And it kept up with the quality.
First season. Like better rankings than the first season, I mean. All right. What about you, Andrew? General thoughts on season 2?
I'd say I would agree with a lot of that. It's probably the only Trek of all of them to hit the ground running from the jump, where like the characters were like, like even though these are our legacy characters, these actors made these characters like fully formed. Excuse me. And season 2 just made that all the better. The one, I wouldn't say a gripe, but like I love a silly episode of Star Trek. And I find like Deep Space Nine was really good at this, where they had like such like dark, heavy subject matter for 7 years, and so when they did like a weird throwaway funny episode, it was just such a refreshing break. And sort of going through the list this season, I'm like, there's a lot. Like there's like at least half of the season is like just those kind of like comical episodes. But on top of that, like some of the most comical episodes or themes of the entire franchise. So we had like obviously the musical, and very similar to Meeting the In-Laws and all that. Like there's just a lot of that, and I think this is the show to do it, because they've proven that they're the fun show. This is the experimental show. This is the one where everyone's so comfortable and confident with their characters and with their storytelling that they can take risks, and most of us won't like backlash too hard, but but I mean, if that's a gripe, I'm not sure. Like it's really technically one, but it was a strange mix this year for sure.
I thought you were gonna say a strange new.
It was a strange new world out there after all. The strange new world was inside of us all along.
Yes.
Yeah. To a quick comment on that, you talked about it hitting the ground running. I definitely think by far it has the best first and second season of any of the shows,
which is no contest, really. I mean, it's like it's not hard to measure up to that, but
that's very true.
I mean,
yes,
yeah, but it's like they're all the characters. I mean, like the actors are so charismatic, and they, even if it's on the page, they understand what's on the stage, and they convey that effortlessly every time.
Yep.
Awesome.
Brick, what about you?
You go, Brick.
General season 2 thoughts?
Yeah, no, I love Strange New Worlds in general. Season 2 I really enjoyed, and yeah, I think you're right to kind of name the sort of current model of TV and how this sort of plays with it, because the arcs are definitely there, and but they're not yeah, they're not like just straight like, okay, here's what happens next, here's what happens next. They carry these arcs through. We see characters develop throughout the whole season, but we are kind of taking this sort of fun episodic, and like both in terms of like the story as well as how the stories are told. So whether it's the fun or the the courtroom drama, like it's just each one it feels like it's very much this like really cool like hour or so of television. That's a cool story.
Yeah.
But then if you step back, you realize, oh, wait a second, what actually happened for these characters? Oh,
Mhm.
this is kind of linking up. And I love looking at it that way. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
there's a lot of
just in terms
layers.
of yeah.
Mhm.
And I to go back, I remember hearing from Kayla sort of the genesis of GTFO and Trek Retrek.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Mhm.
that's great. But like, oh man, I wonder if you're ever gonna get to another show, given the way you're kind of moving through the original. And I was like, oh
Long
my
road.
God, how can Kayla, who I've gotten to know, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're totally missing out on the sexiest Star Trek
I
ever
know.
in Strange New Worlds. And I was like, you have to. And I was so happy when I heard that you were doing this, because it is kind of neat now to sort of look at
Mhm.
the original stuff, and then this is, like you said, this was effectively the crew that we saw in the pilot of Star Trek, but done in 21st century, which is funny.
Mhm.
Production value and sort of like just approach to storytelling, approach to casting. And
Mhm.
so I'm glad that these are the two that you're doing. I think it's kind of
Yeah.
fascinating. But it is. I
And
mean,
yeah.
it's a great cast. It's
And they complement
you
each
all
other
talked
really
about how
well.
great they are. I'll just be
Yeah.
superficial and say like they're hot. Like and the situations they put them in are just like, it's cool. There's just so
Mhm.
much fun about this, that this is the show. I know a lot of folks are like, wait, you like Star Trek? Like they just never kind of understood it. And I feel like this is the show that I would kind of like, well, no, check this out. I feel like more and more
Yeah,
people might like their ears might perk
Yeah.
up a little bit about Star Trek,
exactly.
which
Like
is cool.
What were you gonna say, Andrew? You started to say something.
I would just feel like, especially Strange New Worlds, because it's like the very direct prequel series to TOS. I mean, like the producers and writers very clearly tried to mimic the original series. I mean, like yeah, like Brick
Mhm.
mentioned, there's a lot more character development for and overarching themes, but like it's still very episodic. And some of the when they do get a social theme, it is a little ham-fisted. So I mean, and like and again, it almost has like an homage or a love letter to the original series. So I feel like watching these two at the same time
Mhm.
is probably the most yin and yang you could get.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I found a lot of similarities for sure. And granted, I don't have the rest of Trek's history to go off of. I literally have TOS and this and then the Chris Pine movies. So, yeah, it's fun. It's fun because I already kind of saw the comparisons between the two shows, and then seeing and hearing other people talk about how they're similar. I'm like, okay, it's not just me that's seeing that, or like it's not
Mhm.
just me like projecting. Um, but yeah, it's been I love it so much, and I would be very like, I don't know if it's just I don't know, like this Strange New Worlds is just right up my alley with everything, and I love the comedy, I love the drama, the acting is great, the music is great, the set designs are amazing, and of course, there's really fucking hot people, like like y'all said, which was the draw, which has been the draw for me for a lot of shows. And then but it's great when you get into them and you're like, oh shit, this is a great show. Cause like, I mean, any CW show, everyone is hot as tits, but you get into them and you're like, is okay. Which for me, I've talked about this before, but seeing Paul Wesley in this, being a Vampire Diaries fan, I was like, thank you, Lord
She
Jesus
was
in
real
heaven.
excited.
Is that where he's from? I had no idea.
Yeah, he played Stefan in Vampire Diaries.
Because
Yes,
everyone
he
lost their mind
did.
when he was cast, and I'm like, who? I thought it was just some guy they found like at the bus stop, but no, apparently he's got a fan base.
No, he's got a jawline. That's what he's got. But yeah, so I mean, I love it. I love the dynamic between the characters. There's like quirky, fun ones. Like I love Ortega's and Chapel, and everyone kind of has their quirks to it. Everyone shows their vulnerabilities, and I think in terms of this season itself, yeah, I think they really kind of took some chances, especially with the crossover episode and with the musical episode, and trying to like broaden their horizons a little bit. Yeah, I think I like I liked the fun, but I do agree with Andrew a bit that like could have a little bit more serious episodes, but I don't know. I feel like in a way it was a pretty good balance, especially because there was like back to back like very serious episode and then there was like a very fun episode. So that kind of worked. But if you're binging them all on your own and not watching it week by week, that would probably throw you off a little bit.
There was definitely a little bit of whiplash, and we talked about this going from
Mhm.
Those Old Scientists to Under the Cloak of War to Subspace Rhapsody to Hegemony was like just like
Mhm.
emotional whiplash with those 4 episodes
Yeah.
in particular.
And like the Cloak of War was like, I think like a lot of people kind of akin it to later Deep Space Nine episodes where you were like, this is like slasher wrist depressing kind of thing. And then it's like musical episode right
Yeah,
afterwards. And you're
yeah.
like, this was like wildly different, like between the two.
So maybe they could have done a slightly better job with like position with airing order, like
Mhm.
where they're placing the episodes within the season. But it wasn't we noticed it, but I wasn't really complaining about it. I don't know about you, Ensign Kayla.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Even like the original series, but especially when you get to like the '90s ones, where like each season's like 30 episodes long, where like you had a lot of more leeway to like ebb and flow kind of thing. Whereas here we've got especially on streaming, you've got about 10 episodes that are like gorgeous, and they spend a lot more money on them kind of thing. But like
Yeah.
you've got a very limited shot to like make a big impact, and they do.
Mhm. Yeah.
I also wonder, just based on this conversation of sort of the whiplash, since I'm not watching Lower Decks, which I think covers like a lot of the comedy from what I've seen, I wonder if that makes sense, sort of like, oh, so I'm not getting the humor side of Trek there. And Discovery is fun. I like it, but it's fun in a very serious, like big stakes kind of way. And then to me, because I've missed out on Lower Decks, this
Exactly,
is cool,
Thanos.
fun, the humor. So it's kind of a different balance. But I don't know, it didn't bother me so much. And so my partner, my spouse, who is not like big into Trek per se, but like she watches a lot of sort of the genre stuff with on her own, but with me too. And so she was just noticing like, what is this show? Because this is funny. They're singing, and then oh my gosh, I totally want to find out this drama. Like, and she's enjoying that part of it. She's like, oh, what are they gonna
Yeah.
do next? And there's something to be said about that I've never totally experienced in Trek. I feel like, well, I mean, I guess the TOS kind of did it. Next Generation tried to do it, but it was just maybe wasn't it's not as fun as this stuff. I don't know. Maybe it's an
Yeah.
age
It's
thing. It was
definitely
like,
not as fun.
yeah, it's like, oh, we're gonna do a detective Sherlock Holmes thing, and I'm like a teenager going like, oh, cool, Sherlock Holmes, can't wait. But
It's more like
with
highlighter
this,
curtain.
it's right. But this is like, it's a musical. Wow, this is a psychological drama about the impact of war. This is a trial, and I don't know. I think maybe it's just that the time and the moment for me, it's working well. But
Yeah. I think you bring up a good point too, is that specifically in the second season, if someone was to just pop in and watch the episodes, they're all so different, especially with having the Lower Dicks crossover and the musical episode, that
saw that.
someone could easily pop in and be like, oh, this is intriguing, I want to watch more of this, because yeah, it's just such a broad range of like genres and plots and tropes. So
I feel that's where
um
like the benefit was from where they had like the Spock chapel drama and like
mhm,
Uhura and Una trying getting over Hemmer, um
mhm,
to at least tie everything together, because I mean if you watch one show and only one show, you would assume this series is that. And
mhm.
there's a lot of tones and themes, and it was 10 different shows essentially at any given point.
Yeah,
Like
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
it's very true.
But you know what?
Very
I
true.
know it's maybe an easy reference because of the musical, but for whatever reason, the Buffy. I used to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't know. Yeah.
Once more, once
So
feeling.
yeah, but that show struck me as sort of similar, not just the musical piece, but they would do that too. Even in that episode, spoiler alert for Buffy, but there was this huge musical thing, and at the end, it becomes this massive dramatic reveal at the very end of the episode, and it's actually incredibly depressing and sad after like laughing and so I don't know, maybe there's just a part of me that enjoys that kind of like, oh, they got me there, they messed with my head for a second, and that the surprise of the Lower Dicks crossover was
So this is accurate. Real quick,
Yes.
I've always described my train of thoughts that I have is literally a Simpsons episode,
Like Steamboat
and
Willie.
maybe with what?
Steamboat Willie, Mickey Mouse just cranking on that boat.
I just like it just will keep connecting things, but like in weird ways, like the start to finish of thoughts is A and Z for sure.
Yep.
So that's really funny that you mentioned that. Sorry. Go ahead, Brick.
I wish I could. I'm like, Buffy, there was a point.
You're talking about
I'm
how
so
it tied
sorry.
in, and there was a dramatic reveal at the end.
Sure.
Of the
Yes.
Buffy
And
music.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I was really surprised by it. It's in the title, really, right? I know that
Mhm.
that phrase has this legacy, but the show is really weird. It's strange, but it's familiar. And that's the part
Pun
that we
intended.
haven't yet talked about, to kind of connect it all to Trek. That's the other part of me is like, oh, I love going back to this era and this time period and kind of seeing what Pike was up to, right? Like I just kind of vaguely remember seeing Pike and remember seeing Spock with really like messed up hair and just like, oh, I wonder how they're gonna kind of fit it all together. And that part of it has also intrigued me, like, oh, Chapel, like what's going on here? So I don't know. And I will say that this season I am a little bit kind of blown away, because I'm like, oh, that's a Discovery reference. Oh, that's an Enterprise reference. Like there's just a lot of these things that if you're not familiar with that stuff would be like, well, whatever. But for me, I geek out every time, and I'm like, I'm amazed
You geek
because
the F out.
Yeah. And right now is this big anniversary. They always start the episodes with the big anniversary kind of stinger. And that's what this show feels like to me. It's like really trying to like celebrate all Trek and kind of bring it. Anyway, sorry, big idea, but
no, you're good.
You're good.
Fancy way of saying it's
that's
cool.
What this is for.
Yeah.
We're geeking the F out.
Exactly.
I had a thought about like, because we were talking about it made me think back. We had a stream about Lost last week, and we were talking about how you cannot just pick a random episode of Lost and watch it. I've never seen the show.
No.
So, but I think with Strange New Worlds, if you happen to catch any random episode, you're not going to be no pun intended. You're not going to be lost. You might be a little confused, but you're going to pick up on stuff enough to still enjoy the story that they're telling and go, oh, I want to see more of this. Let's go back and start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's easy too, again, I think especially because of character. Like everyone has their own distinct voice and all the actors
Hmm.
know who they are. So that's even if you don't know their journey, say compared to Lost, where you have to know like who was sleeping with who did what in their past life and all the different, connections. But with
Yeah.
this show, like someone could have I mean, Artegas. I mean, like you know exactly who she is, and like she
She,
herself does not have a lot of character depth, kind of thing. But you're like, I know that person. I am that
I was,
person.
Exactly.
I was just thinking, I'm Erica Ortegas and I fly the
You
ship.
fly the
I fly the
ship.
ship.
Yeah.
That's all I do.
I know. That's one thing.
But
We need more Ortegas next season. Yeah,
but a
and that's so
perfect
true. Like
example,
you just need a little glimpse, and that's you know everything you need to know about them essentially. Sorry,
yeah.
Brick.
No, no. But just to go back on that, because it reminded me, yes, Ortegas is pretty kind of is straightforward, but not like there's things going on there. So in the finale, like there were two moments where I was like, "Ooh, I want to kind of see more about it." When she is landing the ship and she has that cool little exchange with Pike, and he's
Mm-hmm.
freaked out of his mind, and you could tell she's like 12. She's like a kid who finally got to do this thing, but it's also like she's hella skilled. Like she
Oh
truly is
yeah.
living up to that. And there's this moment where I'm like, wow, that is cool. Like that's a cool writing moment where there's just so much packed into that. And then
Mm-hmm.
later when she has the exchange where she kind of steps away from the two captains planning what's next on the planet, and she goes to Mbenga, and it's like, I thought you were planning the next stages, and she has this kind of quieter moment. So I don't know. They're so layered that on the one hand, yes, it's like I know her. On the other hand, there are these moments where I was like, ooh, there's a lot more that I hope we
Mm-hmm.
get to see. And to me, that's like a TV show doing really well, but that's Trek doing like some really just good work. It's working for me. I don't know. It's
I
like,
don't know. I don't know if I disagree with that because I wanted more Ortegas, and we were kind of
mm,
promised by
Mm-hmm.
producers that there would be an Ortegas episode. There
oh,
was. Um, it was not great. But what I've kind of like
Yeah.
reconciled since then is that she is much like the original series. There are secondary characters, and we don't
mhm,
really know much about them. And I've sort of mentally grouped her in with kind of like a character like Boba Fett or like even like Wolverine or Deadpool kind of thing. Like characters who did one or two good things really well
mhm.
and upon their inception, and then fans clamored for more, and then producers were like, okay, here you go, let's just like overexpose them to just ludicrous levels, and now we're like, thanks, I hate
Yeah.
it, like stop. So like I kind of feel like Ortegas is in that camp where you're like, I want to know more, but the more layers you pull off, the less mystique there is, the more I'm going to be like, oh, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm kind of like, I'm happy with her being like a cartoon, and I think because she does it very well, and I'm happy with it,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm like, you know what, I'm happy in the ignorance, frankly.
Yeah.
And I wonder if she's the type of character that we can learn more about in bits and pieces, because we also have that bit from Boimler in Those Old Scientists where he's like, Eric Ortegas, you're a war hero. Is he
Yeah,
talking about the Klingon
exactly.
War, or is he talking about the what seems to be inevitable upcoming war with the Gorn?
The
Like,
Gorn.
where is she a war hero from?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I love
Yeah, I
that
don't know.
stuff.
Yeah.
I love the
And
little
that's
things.
such a good point that like I mean we already have so many main characters that she could just be, secondary character, but I still want to know like a little bit more, but maybe just kind of like how they've already been doing, just slowly peeling back a little bit more of her character as we go. I don't know. I think I still would like to see a centric episode for her. She deserves it. She flies the damn ship.
She does.
We know that.
Not not
Yeah.
not every character can be the main character on the show. That's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
we need the supporting characters. And
Totes.
she's kind of fallen into a middle tier, because like she's not as uh sparsely seen as like Mitchell and the other, who I forget her name, the other communications officer that was terrible at her job.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I don't
Oh,
remember her name. Like that's
IMDb.
That's how unimportant
I
she is.
just looked it up the other day too. I'll
Christina.
look it up. Right?
I think Pike's only referred to her as like Lieutenant Christina, or yeah.
Hold on.
I'm like, where does she sit on the bridge?
Where Uhura usually
wait,
sits.
Jenna Mitchell.
Yes, in exchange, right?
Jenna's
I'm
the
just
one
like-
who sits
Instead.
next to Ortega's.
Yeah.
Who are we talking about?
I'm talking about the
Communications.
other communications officer that Uhura like came onto the bridge in the one episode and was like, you need to do this, and like took over her job. Because
I'm just like, bring back the cat lady from the animated series. That's what I want.
yeah, the Cations.
Oh, Ensign Christina. Yes.
Yeah.
There's no last name on IMDb.
Oh,
At
she
least
don't
I
even get a
don't
name.
see.
Maybe that is the name.
Share. It's just Christina.
I mean, it's just says Ensign Christina. Yeah, there's
I
no
think Christina
last
is her last name,
Her
and
surname,
we
yeah.
haven't heard her first name yet.
name.
Jones.
First name's
Interesting.
Christina.
Jones.
Christina Barcelona.
Xtina.
First name
Xtina.
Christina, last name Ensign. I just
I was
saw
like,
them.
poor Uhuru. I just got a name a couple years ago, so take that, Christina.
Yeah.
Well, and Una too. Una was just number one.
Yeah.
Until now, she had been given that name, Una Chin Riley, in beta canon in books and novels and whatnot. But until Strange New Worlds, it wasn't screen canon. It wasn't alpha canon. So she got her name in this too.
You just totally made me feel like I know nothing about Trek with your classifications of canon. Just so you know.
This
It's like
is
it's
why
similar to
I mean,
like
I'm
Star Wars.
following. Yeah,
and the
I'm
Star
following,
Wars,
but I was like, I've never heard that.
Legends or expanded, whatever they called it. Yeah.
Right.
In Trek, because Memory Alpha is like the
Oh.
Federation library,
Mhm.
and Alpha canon is that, and then there's Memory Beta for beta canon.
Mhm.
That's why I'm a
What is
captain.
it, canon?
But how I'm curious how well, whatever, that's a whole other conversation. We can move on.
How do we feel about it compared to season 1 in particular? Like, do we feel like it's generally better, about the same, or is it just so different that like you can't really compare them? Anyone can go. Free for all.
I
think
tend
it's
to go with
I think it's about the same. I'm looking at our rankings for season 1 as well, and they're pretty unanimous. Captain, Commander, Captain, Commander, Captain. Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach was Ensign and Lieutenant. Serene Squall, Captain, Captain. Elysian Kingdom, I gave a Captain. Ensign Kayla gave a Lieutenant because she doesn't like plays. Captain and Commander.
I don't like
So,
plays or musicals.
and yet,
Yet
Ensign Kayla
I
gave
gave-
Subspace Rhapsody a ranking of Captain.
Mhm.
The person who
It
says
doesn't
that
mean
she
I
does
don't
not
like
musicals.
musicals. Okay?
You liked
You can revoke my queer card. I don't like musicals.
Same.
you liked
I'm not alone.
Shit, what was the episode? Kodos the Executioner episode of TOS too, and that was all about plays
But it
and
wasn't
acting.
a whole
But it wasn't
play
a whole
itself.
play.
Yeah, it just had a play in it. That's different. Don't try to technicality me. I know what I like and I don't like.
But yeah, we have given all the seasons of this show really high rankings. I think it's just as good as season 1. I would be hard pressed to say which one is better than the other.
I would say it's better. I feel like they really found their stride with it and then took liberties, took chances, and I like those liberties and chances. Plus, I am a Chalk / Spapple fan. I'm trying to like
Oh, that sounds
get there.
terrible.
I know I was like, neither of these names sound really good.
I've got
But
cases
I
of
was
spackle in my. I'm going to the doctor tomorrow.
What about Spockteen? No, that sounds like
oh yeah,
Yeah,
first
yeah.
name.
Like
Like
Listerine.
Ovaltine.
Backteen or something. Yeah, that doesn't work either.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of them. So seeing them get together, but then sadly seeing them fall apart was also like very quickly. That was a very quick turnaround. I was like, at least let them enjoy their relationship first. But no. all good things must come to an end.
Ah.
But anyways, what Andrew, Brick, what do you guys think compared to first season?
Like they're two different animals, and not to harp on each episode being so like different kind of thing, but I mean they're I like them both, and I like them both for different reasons, and it's even
Mhm.
difficult to group them together. Like there's through lines for story, but there's
Mm-hmm.
they're all just like, and again, they're all wildly engaging and entertaining, but like they're just you could take anyone from any season and you wouldn't even know where they fit necessarily. I mean, I think going forward season 3, once we get like they're in their Borg era where they're going to do this whole Gorn thing, but like I think that's going to be a real turning point
Mm.
where we're going to see like an actual like real shift in
Yeah.
like dynamics in the actual like not necessarily the storytelling, but like the stakes kind of thing are going to shift, much like Next Gen radically changed during certain points, especially the Borg.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, any one episode could have been in any other season, and it's all great. But I mean, I don't know if I can really compare apples to oranges.
Totally. What about you, Brick?
I'm the same. Just because season 1 had to do something it had to establish sort of the show. Yes, we kind of saw them in Discovery, but season 1 really sort of had to do a lot of setup that I appreciated from sort of a canon perspective. Sort of like, how are we gonna learn so much about this crew, and particularly Pike, within the parameters of what we know kind of happens and what we've seen of him before. So I was really intrigued by that, and they kind of established that in that season 1, and then slowly introduced us to all the sort of different characters. And then this season, I feel like they're just like going deep into different characters in a way that we didn't quite see. Like, I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's been a minute since I watched season 1, but in my brain, at least, the big sort of like, let's go deep into a character story where like
Nice and deep.
maybe, yeah, I don't know, like definitely Pike, but then was Mbenga like the story with his daughter? I'm mixing it up. Is that season 1, season 2?
That is season 1, yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like that was like this moment, like, okay,
Episode.
we're really gonna learn this backstory. This one, I feel like, and it does kind of speak to what folks were saying earlier, where it felt like it jumped around. It didn't only jump around in terms of like storytelling style, but also like character focus, right?
Mhm.
Like I
It did that
heard
the
a lot
first
of folks-
season too.
I just
Yeah,
had a
I don't-
thought,
Mhm.
and I want to see what you guys think about this. Season 1 told us who these people were. Season 2 told us how they became those people.
Yeah, I think
Does
like
that feel?
for Mbenga
You might
especially,
not be wrong. Yeah,
Mhm.
especially for Mbenga.
Yeah, I think it's telling us more about
And Chapel.
Yep.
Yep.
I feel like Mbenga, he's one of those interesting characters because he suffers from the Star Trek Doctor problem, where if you're not on the bridge,
Yeah.
and he was
I
like,
don't understand that.
if you're
You
on the
will.
bridge, well, yeah, like yeah, McCoy's there all the time. Like I don't know, he doesn't
Yeah.
do his own job, but like once you get to like Crusher, Bashir, you're like, who? Like they're afterthoughts.
Got it.
And Mbenga is like, he's very interesting. And I think that's mostly the actor. He just pours so much like Shatner intensity into everything he says. But
Yeah.
between the daughter, whatever happened to his wife, this war thing, like he's got this really dark like background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He's
very
an
interesting.
assassin.
And whereas like Protagonist, I'm like, I'm fine with you as you are, but like Mbenga, I'm like, I need more. Like I
Right?
demand more.
I'm sure we will too. I feel like he's become such a essential member and kind of a bit of a glue character, as we like to say. Yeah, I hope we see more of him for sure. I just lost my train of thought. I did want to touch on this really quick. Do you think Strange New Worlds will stay new viewer friendly, or will it eventually get to a point where you will be lost jumping in? We kind of talked about when we talked about the season finale last week, what season 3 is going to look like, and I'm really hoping that they start off, at least devote a couple episodes to, the fallout of this cliffhanger and the Gorn and everything, and it's not just like we wrap it all up in one episode. And I hope, it somehow still is a storyline throughout the rest of the season, but I don't know. Like, what do you guys think that next season will look like?
I think they've struck a nice balance between there's sort of like even the original series, but especially during like Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, less Deep Space Nine, but Next Gen and Voyager, where each episode had to be like solely independent. Like you couldn't really reference other episodes that often, kind of thing. And major things, they would happen, but kind of get thrown under the rug eventually too. And I feel Strange New Worlds, I feel like they can advance, but they will tell their own tale every single time, and it's going to be its own little like mini universe, but still have the through line. I think that they've really nailed that formula, and I
Okay.
think they'll keep with it. But much like Hemmer died. I mean, he's like, things do happen and things do have consequences. So
Yeah.
like there will be those kind of through lines where things will change, but still broadly be user friendly.
Yeah. And it's interesting too because we keep getting new characters introduced that we know have plot armor already. Like when we had Kirk introduced and now we have Scotty introduced, like we know they're gonna make it through.
Yep.
So we have a lot of characters without plot armor too. Like we don't know what's gonna happen with Ortega's or Lon. I mean, at least I don't.
I mean, I don't either. Like they
Okay.
they are original characters for the show as far as I'm
Okay.
aware. So they do not have a destiny set.
Mhm.
They don't have plot armor for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some we've seen die, like Sam Kirk. Like we know exactly when that happens. So we're like, well, he's fine, but we know, much like Pike, there is a untimely end.
I don't know when that happens, but I do know that it happens.
Was that one of the casualties of following many Star Trek accounts now?
Yeah, spoilers.
I think I just
show.
Yeah, I think I don't know when or where, but I just knew that. I don't know. Anyways, Brick, what's your thoughts for next season? Do you think they're going to follow the same kind of thing where it's like there's a general overarching storyline, but each episode is like pretty standalone, or do you think that might change next season?
I mean, we ended on a big cliffhanger that needs some. It can't be, or I'm assuming it's not like a tiny sort of resolution. It seemed to me that like there's something big, sort of like Federation wide happening in terms of like what they're willing to allow to allow Pike and the Enterprise to engage in and sort of potentially create a war, right? And I don't know, it just seemed like there's a lot packed into the sort of state of this interaction with the Gorn, that it feels like it would be weird to like wrap that up in like an episode or two. It feels like there was something bigger. Like I don't know where. I keep forgetting her. She's actually one of my least favorite characters. What is Pike's
Batel.
Yeah,
Lieutenant
but
Batel.
with a B, right? For the longest time I thought it was Patel until
I thought the same thing.
Until I turned on the thing.
Yeah. But
for a second there, for a moment there, I thought there was some weird, like, some weird Federation thing that she was privy to that Pike wasn't, until they revealed what it was she was hiding. So I don't know if I keyed in on that and kind of am wondering what's going to happen. But I don't know.
Like
it seems
Admiral April. He was like likewise kind of like there's some shady Admiral stuff happening too. So I think like that they didn't drop that by accident.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And we still
I just
don't know
know.
the. Oh, go ahead.
I just, to me, that indicates maybe that there is some of these bigger things that need to be resolved. And then just really quickly, I
Mhm.
think there's stuff with Pike that needs to still be resolved. Like I looked at what happened to
Yeah.
Battelle as, sorry, Battelle, but more about Pike, more about like what we're going to learn about Pike and how he responds to situations. Cause this was like really him, even though it was him making this decision. Am I disobeying a direct order and getting my
Mhm.
crew in, like, which is very Enterprise and Kirk, really, like, let's flip off the Federation and do our own thing, and but
Fuck everyone.
but it kind of makes me wonder a little bit about like what is this saying about Pike and where he's going, and so
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like that's still this big, and I kind of
What
felt like
if?
that was what we were going to do in season 2, but it kind of moved around from character to character. So I
Yeah, we
don't know.
didn't get as much. We didn't get as much about Pike and, his him knowing what his future is going to be, whereas like the first season that was kind of always in the back of our minds, which
Mhm.
Johnny pointed out. He's like, isn't it kind of unethical to start a relationship if you know you're gonna die in 10 years
Well,
without telling them?
I thought that was hilarious when I heard that.
That's yeah, I mean, if
Feel
that's
like
not
it
an
is.
existential question,
I mean, you never
I don't
know, but
know.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. Pike knows. Like he
Mhm.
100% without a doubt knows exactly what is going to happen to him. He saw it, and I think that's part of the reason why. Like, I really feel that the finale of last season, where he talked to his future self, alternate timeline, was him accepting this is the way it has to be. So I think he's past
Mhm.
that. I don't know that we have a whole lot more to. I think he's accepted his fate. He's not going to try to
Got it.
avoid it. He's just running up that hill.
Yeah, and I feel like that
Running
was
up
sort of
the
like a main theme of
hill.
season 1, where
Yeah.
he had to sort of come to terms with it. And he was, I feel like he really took a back seat this season.
Did.
There's a real life explanation for that. His Anson Mount's wife was like on the verge of having a baby right when they started to film this. So he had a reduced role
kids.
for a number of episodes while she had the baby in like the first couple weeks, months that they had the baby at home, from what I've
That
read.
checks out.
Yeah.
That checks out.
I guess the
Babies are
reason,
important.
yeah, all right. I think the reason I was also thinking about some of this being about Pike, even though it's not about Pike, was, and maybe I might be wrong on this, but sort of the oh my gosh, I'm in my age, the Kirk and, oh my god, I love her,
La'an.
La'an. I was gonna say Vaal. La'an. The timey-wimey business of that, I couldn't help but connect that to, oh, well, like we're doing time travel again. And obviously there were like clearer connections to the implications of time travel. She gets visited too. But
Love that episode.
I just like the notion of time and time travel and the repercussions of all that. I don't know. Maybe I'm so stuck on Anson Mount, like, but
We're all
just
stuck on
thinking,
Anson Mount.
thinking
I'd
that
like to be stuck on him.
that was, yes, that was part of my sell, if you remember, for you needing to watch Strange New Worlds.
Yes.
But
He was in Crossroads, the Britney Spears masterpiece. Like, well, how could you
Oh
not
my
watch
God.
it?
I have
But
but
not.
anyways,
I don't know if I
He
ever
was on
saw that,
Inhumans and
actually.
didn't get to speak.
Yeah.
oh my
Yeah.
gosh,
He
poor
was.
guy. We're just real
And
quick,
in
like he's very talented, and we just named Crossroads and Inhumans. But
His greatest, like his most
what else
well-known
has
role
he
is
been in?
nothing important.
But he is, if he had to be in those things to be available for Discovery when the Pike role came up, great, because he's fantastic.
yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Anyway, I wonder about that. I wondered about the Khan reference. Like, it just seemed like they keep hinting at these larger things that maybe in my brain I'm expecting them to pay off, but they may not. They
Hope
may just be
Khan-
little Easter egg teases that like there's this bigger thing, but I don't know.
I
So
hope Khan comes up next season. Like it would
In-
probably be towards the end of next season.
in Strange New Worlds.
I don't know.
That was my other thing. The cliffhanger from season 1. They, I mean, this is kind of,
Probably not.
I wouldn't say like a
Yeah.
huge spoiler for Kayla, but like at the end of season 1, they showed Cybok, who was Spock's half
Yeah.
brother, and I was like,
yeah,
ooh,
yeah.
he's the big bad, and then I'm like,
They
Where'd
haven't
that
done
go?
anything with him since.
Yeah.
not a thing, not even a
Mm-mm.
mention. Like I was like, okay, and again, I mean, like he's not like a beloved character or anything. He's from like the worst movie, but you don't put a gun on
Yeah.
the table and now not use it. Like he's got to be.
I'm
he's gotta do
wondering,
something.
and they've done that quite a few
Chekhov's
times.
gun.
They've done that quite a few times now with stuff that they've just plopped in there and then they don't come back for it. And then they also have answered some of those things, some of those questions from like first season they answered the second season. But yeah, that one, and also random little thing, but La'an and Mbenga, they're like signal to each other.
Yeah,
I
they
forget
haven't
exactly what they
explained that
do.
yet.
Have not explained that yet. So I'm hoping it's kind of little plants that they're doing on purpose to eventually
Mhm.
have them pay off, because if they aren't, as much as I love Lost, I'm really
was gonna
hoping they're
say.
doing smart writing
Yeah, like,
and
Yeah.
those things
keep it
will
polar
pay
bears.
off.
Yeah, I
I
was
mean-
gonna say Lost has
Yeah,
trained me
polar
to kind of
bears.
look, I think. Lost and a lot of other shows have sort of trained me to kind of look at what
Mhm.
was that? What's the significance of that? But
Yeah, I'm all in on the fucking Easter eggs. It's it's bad, because then sometimes or a lot of times there are just things thrown in there and they ever pay off. But this seems like such a smart show that they will hopefully do that.
which I think is just extra fun given how much Trek that you've consumed, that like, because there's a lot of Easter eggs I think that are there that I'll be excited when I see you sort of make those connections.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's when you
20
watch,
years
like,
from
Lower
now
Decks.
when you finally get to it.
Yeah, well, fine. That's gonna take a while, but that's like, I mean, like you probably wouldn't love watching Lower Decks proper, strictly because like it is
Mm.
Easter egg the show, and
Yeah.
I love it. But I mean,
Mhm.
it's like even I
I
have to
wanted
watch
to.
Trek Culture because they do their citation observations where they list every single Easter egg or instance or whatever in each episode, and like for that series, it's a long list. Like they're like, here's 5 things that happened in this one scene. Here's this obscure object from episode 27 of 1987's. Like it was just bonkers. So like, I feel like this is a nice balance of, in-universe stuff and then just inter-character stuff. But yeah, on the note of canon and Easter eggs, there was a video by Rowan J. Coleman, I want to say Sunday, and he was kind of talking about like Roddenberry's take on canon and franchises and all that stuff kind of thing. And he was trying to like more
Mhm.
build a mythos than, because there's no real like franchise or expanded universes or what have you back then. And he always did try to pull back on being beholden to canon kind of thing. And I don't have a lot of respect for that man, but I do agree in that sense where it's like, it's people are so hard on it. And like it's like it must canon.
Mhm.
And
People
even this
love their
season they tried like,
canon.
and even this year they tried like, I mean, the con thing was supposed to happen in 1996 or whatever, and this show kind
Mhm.
of timey-wimeyed its way out of that. So and now it's like,
Yep.
oh, it all canons again. And I mean, frankly, I don't care. Like, it's fine if
Yeah.
it doesn't canon.
Along for the ride.
It does provoke interesting discussion and thought experiments, but the problem is that people get all up in arms about it. Like we were talking about,
And gatekeepy.
it's I'll be interested to see how they get Spock from a half human, half Vulcan, who obviously was willing to explore his emotions and get in a relationship with Chapel, to the Spock that he is at the beginning of the original series, where
Mhm.
everybody's like, he has no emotions. You're a machine.
Yeah.
And Chapel in The Naked Time is like, on him in sickbay, like
Pawing
pining
at him,
after
yeah.
him. He's like, I'm sorry, I can't. How does he
She's
get from point A to
Paige.
point B?
Mhm.
I mean, there is a
Yeah.
point where you just can't, and I know that clever writers really want to find a way, probably for the sake of like they recognize that people will be up in arms. But if I think about
Mhm.
Spock alone, and I don't want to spoil stuff, but I think about all of the just the many things that happened to that character before even this newest sort of run of the Paramount Plus Star Trek contributions, right? Just even before all that, then all of a sudden you have the Paramount Plus stuff, and it's like, oh, there's this thing that you didn't know about, and there's this thing, and so I appreciate that maybe they're trying to kind of address it, but I kind of
Yeah.
wonder if it's impossible at a certain point because it just feels silly that
Mhm.
like why would you never bring these things? I'm really dancing around. Sorry, Kayla.
We
But like
we watched up. We
Sorry.
just recorded the Squire of Gothos. So
Well,
if it's after episode
No.
17 of TOS, keep it under your vest. But if it's
Yeah, no,
before
I
that,
know.
you're free to talk about it.
Well, still,
Which
that's
I
a
know the next
Johnny.
episode is the Gorin episode, and I'm like, damn it, I wish we could have
Ooh.
gotten through that. But stupid
tails.
dogs keeping me up.
Well, you mentioned
Um,
Cybok
Yes,
as
I
an
know.
example, but that was a big thing when it happened, and
Mhm.
there have been many other big things that have happened since then that again it just feels a little bit silly. And yeah, I am kind of curious how it happens. I kind of was teasing about how like his hair was disheveled in the pilot, and so I think I agree with Andrew. At a certain point, it's just like it just gets in the way and it's obnoxious. And but I also get that like all these things are supposed to fit, and so I
Mhm.
Well,
don't
then
know.
you get an Enterprise like episode, and if you've watched Enterprise, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There was a
Mm,
throwaway line in Deep Space Nine, and they were like, "Hey, let's explain why the
mm.
Klingons
No.
were just like smoothed head in the original series, and then they were bumpy head going forward."
Yeah,
And they like spent an hour explaining it, or
yeah.
2 hours. It was a two-part. It was horrible, and it was like kind of insulting, and it was basically like jag-off material for the canon, crazies. But everyone else is like, I didn't need this. Like, no one asked for this.
What's
You know why they
hilarious,
have bumps? Because of money. Because they had more money.
right?
Yeah.
And it's hilarious that you bring that up because I just realized no, there's another big hole, and that was it. I kind of gave up on that show about.
Oh yeah, no,
Yeah, I didn't finish it, and people have told me I need to watch
you
Enterprise.
should.
I got through season 1, but
Don't. No,
uh,
it's like I'm doing a Voyager rewatch right now, and the first 2 seasons I might have watched like 3 episodes. You start with 3, and Enterprise is really good. It starts to like really pick up around 3 and 4. So
okay.
if you can
I've
stomach it,
heard that.
it does get good. But like any Star Trek, except for this one, first 2 episodes, dumpster fire.
I've watched Enterprise through once, but it's not one that I've gone back to. Unlike Next Generation, which I can rewatch and rewatch. And
I'll
Yeah.
make a pitch for a track retrack, maybe one-off episode, and just watch the intros to all of the TV shows and movies. Maybe just the music. And I think that would be a fun
see what the
ride.
reaction is. So
Oh, boy.
what's next on our list? I think this is going to be an easy one to answer. You had any bad episodes? I don't
Okay.
think so.
Oh,
Not
I don't
this
think there were
season.
any outright bad this season. My
No.
least favorite,
Ever.
my lowest ranked was Lift Us, or no, that's last season, was Among the Lotus Eaters. It was neat,
Same.
because
Mhm.
of you had it as commander.
Wait, let me look at
yeah,
yeah,
same. I
I had
think.
it as lieutenant. I mean, that is
I'm
your
looking
lowest
at our
rank.
rankings.
You didn't rank
Yeah.
anything lower than commander.
I thought I
Um,
did lieutenant for something. I guess not.
I lost my train of thought. It was fine, but it's not one that I would say is essential. And it was one episode that everything was enclosed in that. But it was neat that it followed up on stuff from like The Cage, the original TOS pilot,
Mhm.
and the Menagerie, where
Mhm.
Zach is one of the ones that got left behind on Rigel 7. Because that's an interesting thing about Pike too. The Pike that we've seen in Strange New Worlds has been very, I'm your captain, but I'm your buddy, but I'm your
Yeah.
captain.
Mhm.
But we've seen Pike, we've seen Scary Pike in in the menagerie and in the cage.
Intense Pike.
The
Because
beef pair.
the cage and that original village
Which also-
visit,
Also hot.
that original visit to Talos 4 happened before Strange New Worlds. Like, that's before this in canon. Clearly, because they just went and found him, Zach, on Rigel 7 with the memory. So
Mhm.
if the fact that half of his crew was transported up to a Gorn ship and his girlfriend is infected with Gorn eggs, I feel like Scary Pike might be coming. Yeah, Batel's pregnant. Yeah, the Gorn got
well.
I
Batel pregnant.
mean,
With 2 babies. I find like that.
two
yeah, the
different
low-
fathers.
Yes, okay. It's like a Maury episode waiting to happen. That's the theme I want next year. I feel like that episode it's probably the worst just because as soon as they were like some guy was left behind and then he started his own little empire and created his own little like castle and what have you, I was like, this is a Futurama episode disguised as a Star Trek episode, which is spoofing Star Trek. Like it was this weird like Inception moment where I'm like, is this for real? Like, is this
I
actually
can
happening?
see that.
Yeah, it was an okay episode. Like, I obviously ranked it commander, but looking back at it now, especially compared to the rest of the season, I'm like, I probably would give it a lieutenant now. I don't know. It was, yeah, it was kind of all over the place, especially with how they shot it. I felt just as confused as the actors were or the
Yep.
characters were.
Yep.
I was like,
Time was
this is
skipped.
very disorienting.
I don't
Also,
have
the
a.
first episode. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna. I don't know that I have a sort of a bad episode, but I will say that was it tomorrow the Kirk Lawn one. I
Mhm.
really
Rick,
enjoyed it.
careful
I
what you
know I'm
say.
gonna go, but I will say it felt because it's funny because it's timey wimey, but it felt fast. There were a couple of things in
Mhm.
there that I would have liked to have sort of spread out across multiple episodes, including their
Spread
relationship.
'em.
Because then after that episode, when she's all of a sudden like, oh, he's being transported to the ship, and she's got this sort of nervous thing. It felt like that all happened like super fast, and it did
But
for the viewer, but not
yeah,
for
I'm
her.
curious.
I know.
I'm curious how much time
That bugged me.
actually happened in that
That
episode.
one was tough for me because I live in Toronto, and so when they're at Dundas Square, and I'm like, they're going to H&M to pick up jackets and steal stuff, and I was like, oh god, like I'm gonna be caught dead down there. Like it was just very like off-putting. I'm like, don't go there. There's crazy people talking about the Bible. Like, get out of there, man.
Yeah,
It's
anytime
like
they show
Picard,
the Golden
but-
Gate Bridge, which is, a lot in Star Trek, I'm just like, that's where I live, but like it looks nothing like that in the city. Granted, it's
That's
in
what's-
the future, but still.
It's always very sunny.
Oh god, yeah, never sunny. Carl the Fog is always there. At
Mhm.
least
Yeah, I
on the
think-
western portion, which is where the
I
Golden
feel
Gate
like
Bridge
it was
is.
the J.J. Abrams movies where they turned it into like a series of
Mhm.
solar panels or something, which I thought was hilarious because it's
Oh, yeah.
always
Because
covered.
it's useless otherwise.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
bridge. Like,
Super useless.
the other, and again, not a bad. It was actually a good episode, but the first episode, because we had the Una cliffhanger, and we were expecting
Mhm.
a big courtroom drama, and I know the producers were like, "Well, we can't just go cerebral in the first episode. We need a big like pew pew bang bang kind of opener."
Pew,
And so
pew,
like
bang, bang.
pew pew, but like just because we were like, I'm like, I expected a certain thing, and as a fan who's very entitled, I'm mad that I didn't get that.
I was shocked. I think also because I was binging them because we started after season 5 of this season. So I binged the first 15 episodes twice back to back. And I was like, oh, we're not going to talk about Una right away or like resolve this right away. But yeah, but that Una episode though, holy tits.
Best.
So good. So fucking good.
That was the episode I watched, and I'm like, I cannot in good conscience recommend that Kayla wait like 5 to 6 years
20 years.
to get through the rest of Star Trek
okay,
before she
yeah.
watches this. I was like,
Oh, yeah.
so that's why I was like, here's what we should do. get to the cage or the menagerie.
Yeah, the
Because
menagerie.
that felt like a logical point. We get up to the
Makes sense.
menagerie, we watch the menagerie, then we can start watching Strange New Worlds. And then before the Lower Decks crossover, I sent her a spoiler-free edit of the first episode of Lower Decks so that she could get a feel for the characters. I cut out some major spoilers that were mentioned at the end of the episode, and a couple of little, they wouldn't even necessarily be considered spoilers, but there was some of the title sequence that I blanked out so that she wouldn't see certain
did.
things.
Going
But
above
then
and
just
beyond
the-
over here.
The rest of the episode,
Doing the Lord's work.
just so she could get a feel for what the Lower Decks characters were like before we watched those old scientists.
Energetic. Very
Yes,
energetic.
so much energy, which I think they did a good job of showing that energy in the crossover without it being you just being like hit over the head with it, you know? Like you're like, oh, these characters definitely have a touch of ADHD, but like you're not like, okay, please stop talking.
Yeah. And
You're
I
like,
feel
you're
like
medicated.
I feel like there must have been a Lower Deck writer for that episode because like
Yeah.
Lower
There was.
Deck, it's they only have like 22, 25 minutes episodes kind of thing. They pack so, and again too, if you're like not a fan of Lower Decks, if you're not a fan of the comedy or the self-portrayal stuff, the writing's spectacular. Like they really like jam a lot into a little bit of space. And this episode, they had an hour, but these are my favorite episodes where every single character has something to do and everyone has
Yep.
their own arc, everyone has their own, you know, perspective. And everybody was touched. And it was a real great midway point too, where all the characters were on their own kind of trajectory throughout the season. And these two very stupid, very silly characters kind of squatted them down right in the middle and said like, what's up? Why are you feeling like this? And I know you're going to turn out just fine. So shut up, move on.
Yeah. Like,
And
and,
so,
and
like-
they did it so well without giving too much away to them. And also, you know, literally interrupting the series and also the characters and kind of pulling them away, making them slow down and like think about certain things, getting a different outside perspective, like regardless that they knew what the future was going to be. I really appreciated that they did such a good job with that episode.
And frustrated Dad Pike was amazing.
Yes. We love frustrated daddy. I can't wait for angry daddy, honestly.
I think I've only seen maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Lower Decks, and I was like, you know, this is funny, but I yeah, for whatever reason, I didn't finish it. But the one thing that did strike me as I was watching it was like, wow, this is like not only like a tonal shift. I will like say the first episode, I was kind of like, wait, like, do these kinds of people actually make it through Starfleet and then get on a ship? Like I struggled with that a lot.
I think it definitely requires a bit of a suspension of disbelief because
and so that's where I was a little nervous
it is
of
a
how
cartoon.
that would and I was nervous of how that would translate to them actually being on the show. But it worked. They did a good job, I think, kind of like hitting that balance. And even in the brief like time that they're on the show, gave us a little bit of a sense of like, you know, you're really annoyed with him. What's his name again? You said it earlier.
Boimler.
Boimler. But then you get this sense of like, oh, he's just like he's a good guy. Like he is actually, there are reasons why he's not saying certain things, and they did a good job of sort of balancing it. And
also like he's us. Like he is that nerd who gets excited by all the stuff. And so it's a very harsh mirror, but you're like, oh god, is that what I sound like?
Right. But I'll also
very
say
aware that's what I sound like.
My tune changed when Scotty shows up. And then I'm reminded that like, oh yeah, this guy was kind of like that, like especially in the movies. And you're kind of like, wait, how did you get through? like Starfleet, and why are they keeping you around? But
'Cause
then
he's
they
wicked smart.
yeah, and then I realized that like no, like part of the Federation is like they take you where you're at, they figure out your sort of your skills and your assets. Like because a lot of these characters, even his
Assets.
teacher, the engineer, um
Hell yeah.
yeah, they're
Love
I don't
Pelia.
know, and I don't want to. I'll just say that this I was reminded about characters that I've been really annoyed with and frustrated throughout all of Star Trek. I'm like, how did you get here? But that's maybe my thinking. Like I'm not yet
Well, it's also
Federation evolved.
we're always like introduced to the A team. Like if you're on the Enterprise, you are
Yeah.
by default the best of the best of the best. And so like
Mhm.
Lower Decks is sort of like a spin-off of the Lower Decks episode of Next Gen, which is basically like the B team. Like, you know,
Yeah.
sort of they're
Yeah.
young, they're experienced.
Probably
Decks
more
is
like the
definitely
D team.
Oh,
Sure.
100%. Kayla, would you like to comment on the D team?
We love the D team.
There you are. But I mean, like, yeah, Lower Decks too. They were like, you know, they don't do first contact; they do second contact. They're
Mhm.
not good at their jobs.
Right.
They're socially awkward. I mean, like these are like the people I work with, the people I am. Like I'm okay with my job, and like that's not great.
But
think-
again, like if I could even go to certain captains or even Captain Kirk, and I'm just kind of like, wait, there were things that you did were like really sketchy, but
Oh yeah.
that I think that's
Mhm.
the beauty of the Federation in some ways. It's like
Yeah.
they're still human, they're still messed up, but there's
Yes.
sort of this larger purpose that they're all kind of united around.
And it's
I'm
nice
just
that
too damn
they
judgy.
Yeah, it's nice that they even show that in Strange New Worlds is these people are the best of the best, but they are still human at the end of the day. And I think
Mhm.
they do a good job of showing that. Sorry, Johnny, you were going to say something.
I think part of what it is I think that maybe it's showing that Starfleet and the Federation are good at identifying unconventionally talented and intelligent people and putting them in roles that they do well in.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think so, but I think also where I was sort of even in my saying it, I was like, why are you so judgy, Brick? But I think at the end of the day, I'm realizing like, no, like this was like the great human experiment, right? And like they're humans. Everyone has it, and every Star Trek is really about it's an ensemble cast, right? And so all the flaws or whatever, they all kind of like we take them all, but they're all necessary. Everyone's a part of the ship, and
Mhm.
all the many speeches in Star Trek about the
I
crew and the
fly the ship.
family, and yeah,
People are I like to say people are people.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah, I that's something I really appreciate about this show. Real quick, since we were just talking about Una, and Lower Dicks, I'm very curious to see like her rise to prominence. Exactly what happens to make her so well known besides, obviously the trial being very significant, but it just makes it seem like there's a lot more that comes after that. So I'm excited to see more of her journey because like besides the trial, we didn't really get much more from her this season after that, right?
Mhm.
No,
And
Which
she
she
was pretty
obviously the
much
trial was
support.
huge.
Well,
Yeah.
her scenes with La'an in Subspace Rhapsody were the
yeah,
other major things
Yeah.
where she was
Yeah.
telling Lon about keeping secrets and things of that nature, like kind of commiserating with her about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. We kind of already talked about Pike's future. We kind of already talked about Chapel and Spock and where that's gonna go. And I'm curious to see if they bring T'Pring back at all, because like they're technically on a break. Which
have you
I'm like, is
gotten
this gonna be
to
the Friends break?
where are you? Have you seen a mock time yet from the
No,
original
we have
series?
not.
You've not, so I don't
No,
want to
we
spoil
just
anything.
watched
But
Squire of Gothos.
so she only
We met
appears.
Trelane.
Oh yeah, there's a link to someone else later on too, maybe. But
Yeah.
T'Pring's only got like one episode of any note, and this show has done such a great job of making her less terrible.
Less like her mom, you mean?
Yeah,
Kind
mom was
of
a-
like, I mean,
Her
frankly, I
mom was
mean,
a bitch.
yeah, but I mean, like the actress they got for her is such a get, just because like to have someone to have a Vulcan who's that like charming and playful and a little like sarcastic and
Hot as fuck.
super hot, and like also like
Yeah.
they smashed, like they're like I don't care about the 7 year itch, like they'll just have sex whenever they want.
Oh, are they not supposed to when they're Vulcan?
It's a little vague on when you can have
Oh,
sex or reproduce or whatever it is kind of thing, but
sounds very Catholic.
very like Um, but she is, yeah, like I mean that actress, I love her, and I was like,
And her
Chapel's,
outfits, oh my god,
hmm and Chapel was gonna
amazing.
sort of like come in and like they have their own sort of their own arc, but like I loved Pring so much, I was like homewrecker, like I love Jess Bush, I love Chapel, but I was like, get out of there,
Ooh, we
like,
love the bush. We love the bush over
we do
love the
love
here.
the
bush.
bush.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, especially because how they left it. Chapel was like, "Oh, we'll talk about this later." So that's also another cliffhanger. But like,
Mhm.
and everyone thinks it's going to be done because she's gone for 3 months, but I'm like, you're going for 3 months. That's not that long.
You're like,
But
relax.
I mean, obviously we know Corby and what happens with her and Corby because we already saw that in
Oh, right.
TOS. But yeah, I still have hope for them. Let's see. And
Keep hoping.
then he shush. um but yeah, talking more about Mbanga and his big reveal that he was the now I'm blanking on the term.
Butcher.
The butcher.
The Butcher of Jagal.
Hmm.
That was huge. We learned a lot about him, and that episode was also just a
Heavy.
lot. A lot. And they did a good job with it, and then also gave us more of like Chapel's background. And yeah, I think they did a good job of showing the PTSD of being in a war and being on like the front lines essentially, which I think is really hard for a lot of
Incoming
shows. And
transport.
yeah,
Incoming transport.
yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
But then it was also very vague with him killing Ra, right?
Yeah.
Doc Ra? Yeah, Doc Ra. Yeah, well, I guess we'll hopefully learn more about his history as an assassin in the future, but yeah, that episode was an interesting one, and I felt like it just gave us even more questions about his past at the
Yeah.
end of it.
Which is great. I mean, frankly, I'm all like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
more, please.
Yeah,
I
'cause it-
absolutely loved that episode, and it just to tie it back to sort of like I think what was going on in my brain about next season, and like again that episode was really kind of like, whoa, what's going on, Federation? Like, and the sort of like things that I think they need to clarify and resolve, because clearly it's not all cut and dry, not super simple, which is true to real life.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I just keep thinking about Mbenga in that position. Like that was another one. Sorry, I'm all over the place. But Laan in her moment during that dinner party, I thought was really
Oh
great.
yeah.
There were just so many like really cool character moments in this sort of like larger,
Mhm.
war and the impact of war, but also to come back to the Federation piece, like the idea of truth telling and what the essentially like the people running the war are asking of the people who are on the ground. And
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
just, to me, it's very much a Star Trek thing to kind of say like the Federation's great, and then to say, but the Federation's really sketchy. And so
Yeah.
I think that's why
yeah.
I had in my head, particularly that episode and some of these other things, that like I feel like they've got to resolve some of this stuff at some point.
And the thing is,
Mhm.
Losing on War was like such a major historical moment in the Trek canon kind of thing. And Discovery, they were smack in it, but they also kind of
Mhm.
glossed over it as well.
Yeah.
And so this is like they pulled a real Deep Space Nine here where they were like, let's get on the ground and show the real ugliness of it, and also show how
Mhm.
like, we're the superior morality of the galaxy, but like not always. Like they're
Mhm.
they're not their hands aren't clean completely like from all the stuff. These
Yeah.
are ugly wars they're in.
Yeah. No one's hands are ever completely clean.
And I mean,
That
and
is-
then it wasn't just the sort of like, well, what they did during the war. That whole episode was this notion of like, and Benga's pointing out, like, no, the people who brought him into the diplomatic corps, I think is what they refer to it as, like they knew, like they,
Yeah.
he was like, they know, and yet we're still with this charade, like of who he is. And I don't know. I'm just like, are we not going to address it, or I don't know. And I also wonder how much of that gets caught by someone maybe who's like newer to Trek or doesn't really understand that as an ongoing current in Trek of the shadiness of the people who are maybe in control of the Federation, or maybe even like
yeah.
shadow elements within the Federation,
Or
Yeah.
the classic Badmirals.
the
Mhm.
Admirals.
Yeah, they
We
were
just
very
had a
early
little bit of
introduction.
that with Galileo 7, this week's episode. A little bit of a spoiler for this week's TOS Trek Retrek. We meet Galactic High
Came out
Commissioner
60 years ago.
Ferris. What's that?
Came out 60 years ago. I don't think
Yeah.
it's a spoiler.
We meet Galactic Commissioner Ferris in the Galileo 7, who's kind of like the first. I mean, he's not even really a Badmiral, but he's one of the
He's a dick.
yeah. He
That's what
is.
the hell's a commissioner?
He has an objective that he wants Kirk to go do, and Kirk has a different objective that he wants to resolve first. And there's kind of a ticking clock and a little bit of malicious compliance on Kirk's part. But yeah, we had our first kind of exposure in TOS to that in this week's episode.
You missed the
just
first
saw
few
that.
minutes. I think you missed more than the first few. Wait.
It's
You were here
I saw the
earlier,
RC
Allison.
shirt, and
Barbie.
I've been admiring it the whole time, but yeah.
I'm like, it's Barbie and RC in one. Give it to me.
Love. What was I just gonna say? Oh, I mean, if you're a human in this world, you know any government organization that is in control of a lot of things is corrupt, unless you're just living in blissful ignorance. So I think that's safe to assume those things even of Starfleet and whatnot.
Oh, totally.
It would be nice if that wasn't the case, and that Starfleet and the Federation were truly a
Infallible.
100% benevolent, infallible entity. But
Mhm.
for storytelling
It's not
purposes,
real.
that's really limiting.
Yeah, and that's part of the Gene's vision thing that a lot of the old school
Yeah.
fans kind of cling on to. That like they
Klingon.
Gene himself is not Klingons. Gene himself is not terribly a great person, but on top of that, like he wanted, especially for next gen, he didn't want any conflict. Like humans cannot have any conflict, they can't have any drama, they can't do anything. And you go to a writer's room and say, make a show out of that, and they were like, you can't. And that's why, like, before he like kind of bowed out from sickness, the show was terrible. It was beyond awful.
Yeah,
it was
the
just like
beginning.
and so
There's
like
there's a handful of gold in those first two, but yeah, for the
more
most part,
courtroom episodes,
it's
yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
I was sold at age 10.
You were
Ooh,
age
Took
10
you a little
though.
while. Yeah, sure.
No, totally. It
You
felt
covered.
very serious and cool, but yes.
It actually was cool before X-Files was out. Like it was the
Mhm.
thing you were like, because sci-fi was still
Yes.
stigmatized, but like before you went out to the bar, you were like, we're gonna watch Next Gen and like get drunk and then go to the bar kind of thing. And it was like very the low key cool thing to do, because like Next Gen was wildly popular, like more than people kind of really discussed at the time. And now it's everybody watches it, but back then you were
Mhm.
like, you know, we're smoking our cigarettes, we're like, we're so cool watching Next Gen.
Love that.
The
I think we
10-year-old brick with a
covered
cigarette at a bar.
Well,
dead.
assorted things.
I think we covered most of the characters and their development throughout the season. Is there any that we didn't talk about much? I don't think we talked too much about Uhura. And her development. I think, you know, it was interesting that it took them so long to address her dealing with Hemmer's loss, but I think, you know, how we talked about it with Una, like we thought that was going to be addressed right away. So I think it was just, you know, it just happened to work out that way. I kind of wish they had addressed it a little bit sooner, but they address it in such a unique way that episode, and all of these hallucinations that she saw, which most of them had to do with Hemmer and her
And with
realizing like
nightmare
she
fuel.
needs to, yeah, nightmare fuel. I think I actually put that in my notes from that
Yeah,
episode.
zombie Anar are fucking terrifying.
It was like, no, thank you.
Yeah. Not today, Satan.
Nope.
By Thanos. But yeah, I thought they did that in such a unique way. And then her bonding with was it Una about Hemmer?
Yeah,
some
because Una was
point?
like likewise kind of like in a staggered kind of grieving too. They both sort of did later in the
Mhm.
season, but they both felt it. And I feel like it made
Mhm.
more, I don't want to say make more sense, but like, because we find out in season 1, Uhura lost her parents quite young and was sort of, you know, grieving from that. And
And
likewise,
brother, I think they said.
yeah, that's right. I mean, her too being like probably one of the more human characters in the sense that like everyone's like, you know, the best of the best, and she's one of them. But she's like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't know if this is the career
Mhm.
at this age. I haven't
Mhm.
decided if this is the career I want to go into. So she's like
Which she
really,
is 22.
yeah. And I mean, she's got like, you know, a very illustrious career ahead of her. But like, she's the one who
Mhm.
we don't really know in the original series, but like, you know, she is a well-known character in science fiction as a whole, but like we don't really know her
Yeah.
that well. But like I like this, you know, just her dealing with loss. Like she has this sort of like
Mhm.
constant, you know, fear of loss kind of thing. And Hemmer, the first person she was really close to on the ship, is, you know, snatched away. Like
Yeah,
it really builds her up where she hasn't really been before.
it does.
And it's such an unlikely bonding between those two as well.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Especially for the way they were introduced through to them having to work through the
Mhm.
crisis in the shuttle bay together. It
Mhm.
was unlikely that those two would end up finding commonality, but they did.
Mhm. Yeah, and I liked that they showed the flashback videos of them working together in that episode, and her, you know, constantly rewatching them because that's just so relatable. Like anyone that's lost someone, I mean, everyone kind of handles it differently but for the most part, I feel like a lot of people will look back at pictures and videos and stuff to remember them. So I liked that aspect of it. I'm not gonna cry thinking about it.
A fun fact
Really?
that I don't know if we
Right.
covered when we talked about the episode, but in Subspace Rhapsody, the K-pop Klingon captain, that was
Oof.
Bruce Horig. That was
That's
Hemmer's
right.
actor
Mm.
as the
Oh.
K-pop Klingon.
Oh.
Yeah, the producers said they wanted to bring the actor back, and I thought they were going to do the same thing as they did with another Discovery actress, where they just literally like took off the makeup and plopped her back on the bridge and said like, "You're
Yeah.
always here." But like, I thought Hammer was going to do the same thing, but like, they keep on just dropping him weirdly into like episodes.
Yeah.
Have there been other? Oh, you mean they keep dropping him as his original character? But have they
I mean,
done
really,
that?
just the actor. They're just like, here's, you know, Zombie Hammer, here's a Klingon. I mean, next he'll be
Mhm.
God knows what, like a Gorn or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know if that had
Interesting.
happened.
A Gorin in a spacesuit.
To go
It's
back real
adorable.
quick to
It's so adorable.
you were talking about the how Star Trek has gone back to try and like explain the ridges and all that.
Mhm.
Are we gonna? Do you think that it's funny because the show then does what they did with the Gorn? Is there gonna be some, you know, oh no, we need to explain why they are so different, or is that just they're embracing it?
I-
And
No,
they
don't,
said,
like,
I
don't.
watched a
I
breakdown
don't have the
video.
fates, I know.
I watched a breakdown video that in something, can't remember what, because I just like binged a bunch of videos. In something, some Star Trek form of media, that it's explained that there are several branches of Gorn, and so that's why some have tails and some don't, and some look like fucking humans, and
Dear God.
some look like the ones in Strange New World.
Or a
Yeah,
man in a rubber suit.
I think it was. I think
Yeah.
it was Enterprise. It's in an episode of Enterprise somewhere, I believe. That they
Okay.
cover it.
Oh, that's right. They did a Gorn episode, like a super bad CG Gorn
Yeah,
episode, and that's
and
the
I
only
was
other time we ever
telling,
saw them.
yeah, I told Kayla like we Arena is our next episode to watch, so we know the Gorn are coming up in TOS. Like this is probably more Gorn than we've ever more Gorn than we've
Gorny.
ever got
Yo,
in any
Gorny.
other series. I think they showed
Hardcore
up
Gorn.
once in Enterprise and were mentioned once in DS9, but that's it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of room for them to develop them.
Sure.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But yeah, subspecies, different offshoots of the Gorn itself seems to be the most logical.
I feel
We'll spot
another
for you there.
thing for the Gorn in season 3, they really made a point to, and even in season 1, they were like, they kept saying like they're monsters, they're vicious, they're inhuman, they have no emotions kind of thing. But then it's like we saw like baby Gorns, and we saw like they build huge, cool ships. They have adorable little spacesuits with the little like tubes for their tails. Like these
They were
aren't
trying
monsters.
to hack the ship.
Yeah, like they're not dumb, and so like maybe
But
they're
also
very
they're
different.
immediately killing them. That's
Yeah.
the thing. We talked about that
Who
last
wouldn't? I mean,
episode.
the Klingons did the same thing. I mean, who's the monster here?
Yeah.
I just wonder they're putting so much on like how inhuman they are, and I'm like, yeah, they are very different. They reproduce different. They do everything different, but that's not wrong necessarily. And I'm wondering if they're going to kind of explore that theme of like they're just not like us, like, and that's just a fact.
Yeah. Which Pike even mentions in the finale, like maybe there's more to them than we think. And of course La'an's like, no.
Yeah.
Like not how it works. But I think that they definitely will explore that. I've seen a lot of people like up in arms online in comments saying like the whole purpose of like Starfleet is to explore and like have an open mind about these other creatures, species. There we go. And they're instantly just like, they're bad, we're killing them, they don't have any like value to them or whatever. But yeah, so I get that part of it, but then the other part of me is like, they're immediately killing them. Like, wouldn't you want to self-defense yourself?
We haven't been given any evidence that the Gorn so far do anything but like murder and eat and lay their eggs in the races that they come across. Like that's what they do.
But we're also in like kind of an era of media where like you can't have a Cruella de Vil or a Maleficent. Like there has to be anti-heroes. There has to be like, well, what about them? Like
they
the
need
what about
some kind of redeeming quality.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, we do it often where we're like,
complicated.
all the fascists I know in real life, I mean, they must have a bad backstory. I'm like, doesn't matter really, but like, they're so bad. But
I'll just go
You're
with
gonna
what
say they must have a bad back, and that's why they're so angry all the time.
like, threw back to that ad right there. But at this thing, I mean, like, it's not like they even try to like wussify the Borg. I mean, the Borg were irredeemable monsters, and then like we kind of got like more. I wouldn't say they were ever redeemed, but we got like so much backstory that you're like, my head hurts, and there are victims on both sides, maybe.
I'll just go with what La'an says. Sometimes a monster is just a monster.
No, that's what Pike says.
Or Pike's. I think Pike said it to April, but I think La'an said it to Pike too earlier in season 1.
In season 1, maybe. But Pike definitely said it in the finale. But that is my recency bias.
Yeah, I don't really need them to be like redeemable, but I do need them to be like at least acknowledged as different, because you would have like the Breen and stuff like that. Oh wait, here we go. What? The bad back.
Lifting all those stereotypes and bigotries gives them bad backs when lifting strawmen. Yep.
Always the victim. Always the victim.
Oh yeah, always the victims. Go ahead.
But there are like different species. I mean, there's you'll see I don't know if you ever see the Tholians, but like Tholians are very, very different creatures. The Gorn are very different. The Borg are different. The Breen are different. Like there's some people that just they don't fit into your kind of standard human-y with weird bumps on your heads. Like there's some different species out there, like very weird different species, and they just don't fit. So, and it seems like the Gorn. I'm not saying, like defend them for eating people, but like at the same time there is like at least a recognition that like they're a different animal completely.
Definitely. Literally. Okay, do we want to go into more of the overarching themes, which I struggle to find them, and I
there
also
were
just
two
don't
that
think
jumped out.
that deeply. Yeah,
The
go
do
ahead.
you want to cover or
No, you go.
okay? There's a overarching theme of kind of like second chances throughout the season.
Second season.
Second chances in
Second
the second
chance,
season.
second season.
And the other that we picked out is because more than once they essentially had people saying to other people, fake it till you make it. Like Mbenga saying
Pelia.
to
Doesn't Pelia
Mbenga
say
saying
it
to
too?
Erica, sometimes if you pretend something long enough, it becomes the truth.
Yes, that's right.
And Pelia did. I forget who Pelia said it to. Was it Una or was it Ahura?
I feel like Ahura, maybe. Sounds
Was
like
she
something she would
pretending
say to Ahura.
pretending all that stolen art was hers?
That could be part of it.
Mhm.
But pretend, essentially the theme of, if you pretend something, or if you put yourself in this role, even though you might not be suited for it, eventually you will be. Like, it'll be the correct choice. Essentially, like I said, fake it till you make it. Was there anything else throughout the season that stood out to you, Brick?
Of course you went to me. No, this whole time
We're
I'm
counting
like,
on you,
I'm
Brick.
still thinking of these themes that you're bringing up. I'm
Mhm.
totally. I don't have anything. No, and I'm not even
Okay.
going to pretend.
Andrew, was there anything that you thought about as a through line through the season that we haven't touched on?
I think we've really hit a lot of it. I mean, like there's a lot of I'd say like second chances, even with like say Lon and Kirk, where even
Una.
we never actually met prime timeline Kirk until after I think the end of the episode, where it's like we always kept on running into like alternate timeline versions of him, and then she's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I just called you for creepy girlfriend reasons."
Yeah, that was
Um,
the first time we saw the actual prime timeline Kirk.
But I mean, like that sort of sprung another second chance. And again,
Mhm.
always lost. I mean, between Hemmer and T'Pring, we'll say, like for now. There's, and again, like a lot of it's almost it's a trope from Shakespeare. It's a trope from Star Wars. It's always like mistaken identities and masks and whatnot sort of thing. So we saw like
Yeah.
much like the body swap episode last year. We had like where Spock had to pretend to be Vulcan while being human. Um, it's a very old trope, but it works. And they and again these writers are quite good. They sort of did
And
something
he
new
had
with
to do
that.
that this season too.
hmm
Yeah. Well, last season he was still. It was him and T'Pring.
Yeah,
This
Yeah, they
they
season
swapped.
body
he was
swapped last
just.
season.
Yeah,
And this
this
one he
season
became
he
human.
took away. Yeah, he became human and wore a beanie, which did not look good on him.
Starfleet issue
So,
beanies.
yeah.
As you guys are talking, I'm like thinking like, okay, so I don't know if this is a theme or if this is just how characters work. But you had said
Okay.
earlier that season 1, Johnny, that this is who these characters are. Season 2 might be seen as how these characters became, essentially, who they are. So then I was thinking about, as you were sort of talking about, like Spock, like who's he going to be, right? I guess like at this point with Uhura, like who is he going to be? With Pike now kind of coming to some level of peace, we thought, person the last one, but now he's stuck in this situation. So now who does he become moving forward? And again, like I said, is this a theme or is this just how characters work? But it does seem to be something that I keep rubbing up against. It's like these characters are now we saw who they were, at least who they were presented as, I guess is really what it was. And then it was like, oh, look at all this stuff that you don't know. So then the next thing is like, well, then who do they become? And I think, I don't know, maybe there's something there with what happens in season 3. It's almost like a 3, I don't know, like 3 arcs.
We'll see what happens, because it could be I'm thinking of depending. Part of me wants to say depending on what happens to Battelle, it might end up being like how do they all deal with loss? Because there has been kind of a little bit of everybody's dealing with loss of some sort or another.
Of some sort.
Uhura coming to terms with the loss of not just Hemmer but her family too, because it didn't seem like she was fully over that. La'an coming to terms with the loss of the potential romance or the romance that she had. There's other ones in there, but now and then it could be Pike coming to terms with the Spock and Chapel, Spock and T'Pring.
T'Pring, right? Yeah. And him. Sorry, before you leave him, Spock. That's where I was kind of wondering too. It's like we're seeing a different Spock, as you pointed out. So then, how does he become the Spock that we know?
Well, that's why I like where we could sort of do like Pokemon evolutions per season, where it's like we're seeing like all these characters are very young. Like we're used to sort of like old, confident Spock, Uhura, even Kirk, like in the original series. These people are top of their game, best in the biz, and we're seeing very young versions of them. And I mean, I can speak personally. Young Andrew was a horrible jackass who I would probably punch in the face. So like I know they're like you do evolve over time, so it is kind of nice to see like. How does Pikachu turn to Raichu like over the course of these next few seasons? Like,
it'll be interesting to see. Hi, Frankie. Better late than never. Just after it's done, go back and rewatch.
It could be there could be a theme of loss that's been building through this season and will be explored even more next season with different characters.
Yes. We shall see.
And that's the sign of a good television show, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
I mean, the fact that we can sit here and kind of see these things.
Speculate and have hopes and expectations for like coming up next.
Hopes
kind
and
of thing.
dreams.
I remember those. Those pre-pandemic things.
Yeah, really.
I mean, just to throw out there, there's Scotty too. Like we saw Scotty.
Yeah, Scotty showed up.
So we're gonna sort of see that.
I'm excited for
just
Scotty.
A tangent related.
No.
How much do you think we'll see Scotty? And will we see anybody else anytime soon?
I wonder if he's gonna be like how Kirk has been, just kind of sprinkled in and then used more and more, or I don't know. I feel like it would be weird if he was immediately just a member of the crew. I feel like he might be, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go help out this ship" or something like that. But then come back every once. I don't know. It would just feel weird to immediately have him on, as much as I would love to have him be a part of the crew. We already have a lot of fucking people.
Yeah,
they're gonna have to kill off. They're gonna have to kill off some people first before he can be there full time. Just saying.
Well, I think he's like maybe a lieutenant. So I mean, like I wouldn't mind him transferring to the Enterprise under Pelia or whoever later on, kind of thing. But I even Kirk, I'm like, it's a little like, why are you on the ship all the time? Like this season, I'm like, go do your job on your ship. Like
my brother's here.
Yeah, it's like it was too weird. But Scotty, I'm like, you can't magically write your way into like every single episode. So like I would like him maybe twice in 10 episodes next year, and then maybe do a transfer.
A handful.
They made a very specific point for him to identify himself as Lieutenant Junior grade, which means he is not a full lieutenant.
He's got a way.
He's just a step above an ensign. He's real low rung of the ladder. So I don't think he'll be.
Right.
He's not going to be an every episode character. I feel like he might be, like you said, maybe once or twice a season, maybe in every episode, but only one or two scenes. Like he's just in engineering with Pelia. But there were some people I saw discourse online about, well, when are they going to make him chief engineer? Whoa, hold up.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And the thing
he's
is, like,
not that far out of the academy.
Let's flavor this sauce a little bit first.
But also, if they like pop onto planets or space stations and they run into like Chekhov and Sulu and whoever else, you get the small universe thing really quick, where like like everyone's in the same neighborhood, and also you don't need to meet everyone in this show. Like I mean, it's unnecessary.
There were people who were clamoring for, well, is McCoy going to be next? I kind of hope we don't see McCoy at all. McCoy, because of the dynamic between Kirk and Spock, or Kirk and McCoy in TOS, McCoy very much feels like a Kirk assignment. Like he said, "Hey, I'm going to be captain of this ship. I want you to be my CMO." He
I will
comes
be licking
on
his
when
butthole the
Kirk
whole time.
takes over as captain, and not before.
You think of Carl Urban, not DeForest Kelly. It's not, one is substantially sexier than the other one.
I do love
Yes.
Carl Urban.
Does anybody know if we knew the history of Scotty before what we saw last night, or
I
is that
don't-
all new?
I don't think so. I don't
Okay.
think there's much Montgomery Scott history prior to TOS.
Like
I
there
just
might be
novels
in
and data canon, perhaps, but I mean,
Yeah.
like they keep it purposely vague so that they can tell stories in the future.
I asked
Smart.
because when he was presented in the my gosh, the Christopher Pine kind of the J.J. Abrams thing.
Oh, yeah.
It was similar. It was like there's similarities in terms of how they come
He was-
across him
yeah, he
and
was
his
kind of
role in
found.
that moment. Yeah,
Mhm.
and how he sort of saves them with some
Yeah,
technological wizardry of his
his
you know,
smartness.
his smarts and his like very much like off kilter, like
Yeah.
his own
Simon
way of
Pegg
doing
was-
things. Yeah.
Similar-
So I don't know if that was intended.
One
If
in-
so, it's kind of cool.
One incredible thing I noticed the actor did is that he hid, I forget which hand it was, but he hid his hand behind his back almost the entire episode, or he hid his hands a lot kind of thing. And that's because James Doohan had half his hand blasted off in World War II. And
Mm.
so if you ever see him, he's got this kind of like weird little like lobster claw thing happening, and he always tried to hide it, but sometimes you were like, what's happening with your hand? And so the actor actually like went out of his way to
Whoa.
like do that. And I was like, nice work. Like nice like little attention to
Wow.
detail.
Yeah, love those.
That's awesome. Love that. Okay, real quick before we do some fun fuck, marry, kill, because I think we've covered pretty much everything else. Do we think there's going to be more crossovers and more musicals in the future, or do you think like this is the season they got those out of the way
as
and they're done?
as fun as they were, I hope not.
No.
I think they were great as one-offs. I could
Mhm.
maybe see. No, I couldn't even see that because of what happened. No, yeah, I don't think so. I hope they were one and done kind of things. They're great to have. I'm really glad they did them, but I
Mhm.
don't think they need
Did
to
them
do more.
both in this season too.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, and they
What do
like
you
they,
guys
they
think?
cover a lot of ground with like different, body swap with the musical, with like I mean they could do all sorts of like, any kind of I Love Lucy concept and apply that to the show and I'd be like I would welcome it. I'm like, let's see what you do with it. But I think
Yeah.
once you do it, drop it, like and move on and do something else.
Mhm.
What do you think, Brick?
It's I just hope they're careful about not turning into, like, oh, next episode we're like we can't, or next season we can't wait till that, what's that one weird quirky episode gonna be, kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I hope they use it judiciously. That's all.
I do kind of like
Totally.
somebody noticed like, I do kind of hope they keep up like episode 5 is for hijinks, because there was a mention of hijinks in episode 5 of the first season, and then episode 5 of season 2 was kind of a hijinks episode too. I think that would be a fun thing for them to just keep. Episode 5 of each season
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
a little bit of hijinks, a little bit of
Little bit of a
shenanigans
break.
going
A little
on.
bit of space.
Yeah.
A little bit of space. Love
What
that.
episode was Lower Decks? What number was Lower the?
7?
It's like later, like double digits. Or
7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Oh no,
pretty
double
low.
digits. There's only 10. Yeah.
Yep, it was
7.
7.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Okay. We're gonna do rapid fire fuck, marry, kill. Are y'all ready? We're not gonna do explanations. We're almost at 2 hours. So just unless
well.
you want to just say something really quick, but there are 6 of them. Okay. First one is Spock, Chapel, Pike. Fuck, marry, kill, go Brick.
Oh, Spock, Chapel, or Pike. In the order. So I'll do Pike, Chapel, Oh, I don't want to kill Spock. No, actually, I do.
You got to kill someone.
No, I do.
So you
Yeah.
would fuck Pike, marry
Mhm.
Chapel, kill Spock.
Mhm.
Okay. What about you, Andrew?
So I'm controversial. So I'm like marry Pike because dreamy.
Duh.
Fuck Spock
Mhm.
because well, obvious. And then I'm
Mhm.
gonna kill the homewrecker. So take that, Chapel.
Okay. Fair enough.
I like
Johnny?
I'm marrying Chapel 100%, no question.
Yes.
I
You
could kill
left the
both the
bush.
other two, but if I have, I'll Pike's doomed anyway, so fuck Spock and kill Pike.
Yeah, get in the will,
Fuck
and
Spock
then
and kill Pike. Okay.
I mean, depending on how. Never mind.
when do I
I
fuck the
think I
body?
Yeah, I think I'm also gonna marry Chapel, but I'm going to fuck Pike because I feel like he's secretly kinky but not showing it yet. And then yeah, I'll kill Spock because I mean, as Spock could be, if anything, like a boyfriend on the side, but I have to kill someone, so I have to kill Spock.
Hmm.
All right, next one. But your love
Your
could
love
save.
could save him.
Like a Disney movie.
Okay, next one. Fuck, marry, kill Uhura and Benga and La'an. We'll do same order.
Oh.
Go, Brick.
This is tougher.
Oh, same
I know.
order.
Who are you gonna fuck? Who are you gonna
La'an.
marry? You're gonna fuck
In this order.
La'an. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna fuck Lon. I said it. Thank you. There goes my teaching career. Marry Mbenga. Oh God, but that's messed up. But I still want to stick with it. I'm gonna have to kill Uhura.
Wow. Okay. All right. Go, Andrew. Before
So
I
I'm gonna
die.
Tough choices.
I'm gonna marry Uhura because I just adore her, and then I'm gonna fuck Mbenga because he's an animal, just a beast.
Yes.
And then it's actually Lon.
Yes.
I'm from a very scrappy province in Canada, so I think like Lon would we'd have a good fight, but I would be victorious.
Johnny,
um,
Uhura and Benga La'an.
F Ahura, marry Lon, kill Mbenga. Sorry, Mbenga.
Wow. Okay, I think I would definitely also marry Uhura. I don't know. Like, I would want to fuck La'an just to like get the type
Just to
A out
know.
of her a little bit. But like you said, Mbenga does seem like
There's something there.
I don't know. There is something there. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna fucking Mbenga kill Lon. I'm sorry, Lon. I still love you. All right. And then we got fuck, marry, kill Sam Kirk, James Kirk,
Oh,
and Pike.
oh God. Can I kill both Kirks?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
That's what I want
You
to
gotta
do. I
fuck
think
one
I
of
want to
them.
kill both. Okay, well, I'll do that to one of them
You want to
before
kill
I kill
Sam
them.
too? He's so
No,
adorable.
I will. So Pike, I'm definitely marrying. Oh geez, what a toss up. I will do the first thing with Sam, and I'm killing Kirk. Kirk.
The first thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, I have visions of where this footage can go. Anyways, and whose
You're the
idea
one
was
who
this?
suggested
Anyways,
it.
Whose
You
idea do you think?
suggested it. You fucker.
I thought it was Kayla's idea.
No.
I'm actually doing the same. I think it's like, yeah, marry Pike 100%. And then Sam, I have a little crush on Sam. So Kirk, he's grown on me, but he's not a favorite character yet. Like I know the actor is beloved, but I'm not totally sold yet. So
I mean, he's not that beloved.
Go, Johnny.
Yeah. Anyways,
we're gonna F James T, marry Pike, and kill Samuel George.
Oh, for Sam.
Or wait, George Samuel.
Gompers.
Forget.
I don't know. Okay. I'm also gonna marry Pike. That's obvious. I think I'm gonna fuck James T. Kirk and kill Sam. Just because, I mean, there's a reason why he gets with so many people. Like, he's got to be good at it at some point, right? One would
You'd
hope.
For
One
all
would
that
hope.
experience.
Yeah.
Or he
Okay,
just
next
misuses his
one.
power.
Yeah, next one is fuck, marry, kill Pelia, T'Pring, and Dr. Aspen, aka Angel, which I think I'll know this answer for Johnny.
Wait,
Oh.
say them again. Pelia?
Pelia, T'Pring, and Dr. Aspen. She's from the first season. She's from what was it called? What was that episode called?
Oh my God, my
Serene
memory.
Just
Squall.
had it up. Serene
the-
Squall,
Yeah, the Pirate Queen.
Pirate Queen.
Huh. Okay. Oh.
Look her
Okay.
up. Yeah. Mhm.
She seems like she could be fun.
Yes.
And I will
Johnny.
definitely. Sorry, Pelia. That doesn't quite work for me. So that is probably the one thing we didn't get to talk about. But I definitely kill her. And
Aw.
Pelia and whoever else. I guess we're getting married. I forget who the other one was.
T'Pring.
T'Pring.
Oh yeah, sure. There's gonna be some problems there, but whatever, we'll work it out.
I think I'm probably the same actually. Like I love T'Pring. Like, and I never thought I would say that. And
They redeemed
yeah,
her.
clearly fucking the Pirate Queen.
Mhm.
And then Pelia. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we don't. I love you, Carol Kane, but not that
Aw.
much. Like, not that much.
I'm not sold on her. Actually, that would have been the one thing. Anyways,
All right, Johnny.
I do not, as much as I loved her character in that episode, I do not think Captain Angel would be a healthy relationship. So we're
Yeah.
just
But it would
gonna-
be fun.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
that's
certainly
why
would, but
you
we could
limit-
still
you
have
limit your
fun.
interactions.
And then the solid supportive relationship seems to be with T'Pring. And then I don't want to kill Pelia, but really she's getting the short end of the stick here.
I mean, she's lived a long life.
She has.
Exactly.
She certainly has.
Time to go.
She's lived long enough. She's good.
You had your time in the
Lanthanite?
spotlight.
Is that the right? The Lanthanite? Is that the right word?
Lanthanite.
I don't know,
Which
but
is
she has lived a long time, and she just doesn't seem like she's learned much. But anyways,
which
Yeah.
But I think
Lanthanites.
she would be fun.
Lanthanites are new for this series, and this isn't gonna make a lot of sense to Kayla, but I kind of wonder why they didn't just go with Elorians.
My thought. Yeah, exactly.
But-
is
You're already
that
there.
G? Is that
Yeah,
Big G.
yeah.
Yeah.
Big G
Maybe
with the hat.
they'll
Mhm.
maybe
I
they'll
wondered too.
come up with a reason for that. So we'll
Mhm.
see.
I am gonna marry Pelia
Really?
because she just seems fun and quirky,
needs-
and I love her
Pelia needs a win.
energy. I think this is gonna sound weird and slightly incestuous, but she reminds me of my Nan.
You just love her that much, and you want to keep her around, so you have to
Yes,
marry her. Those are
exactly.
the rules of the game.
Exactly. Gotta
Yeah.
keep her around.
Can't kill Nana.
Obviously, I'm gonna fuck Captain Angel, and then I'm gonna kill T'Pring. I'm sorry, she's too, love her, but I'm also very Type A, and dealing with other Type A people, I just clash too much clashing. Okay. Next one is Admiral April, Battelle, and Hemmer, when he's alive.
Not zombie. Okay.
Yeah, not zombie.
Oh God.
Man,
Oh God.
it's tough. I don't know what I have against Battelle, but it's
Yeah, this one's
Oh,
easy.
shit.
yeah, but the Admiral actually, I'm too suspicious of Starfleet. So they're gonna die. Battelle. I mean, in the opening episode, it seemed like they had just been having fun.
Mhm.
So
You
we
just say
can
F.
we can do that. Yeah.
We can do
I
that.
don't know what became a prude. And then whoever else gets to get married. I'm sorry, I'm just
Hemmer.
No, yep. No, totally. I think actually there's an interesting, weird, quirky wisdom there that
Mhm.
I actually appreciated with him once we understood him at the party.
Totally.
Yeah, I would totally settle down with like Hemmer. And then Battelle, yeah, I don't know if it's the actress, I don't know if it's just the character, but
Yeah.
dead.
Yeah, something
And
about her
then
throws me off.
yeah, like there's some
I'm
fakeness.
constantly
I don't know.
suspicious about her. But anyway.
Mhm.
Same.
Yeah, like you're
Don't be
that chick that all your
suspicious.
friends are like, she's no good. You can do better, huh? Like you can do better.
Exactly. But you can't put your
Um,
finger on it.
yeah. And then who's Admiral April?
Admiral April.
Yeah, probably good lay. So sure.
Mm-hmm. Johnny.
Well, it's gonna be F. Battelle, marry Hemmer, because I think he was really into the Elysian Kingdom, so I feel like we have lots of good D&D nights. Like he's gonna be fun to hang out with long term and play Dungeons and Dragons. And then
Mhm.
yeah, but I don't know about April's motives, so I just don't want to have anything to do with that.
Mm,
Mhm.
interesting. I think I'm gonna go. I'm kind of torn because like Admiral April is also a daddy, and so I'm like, might be fun to settle down with him. Then Hemmer too. We know more about Hemmer, so I think I'm gonna have to marry Hemmer, fuck April, kill Battelle as well. Sadly, as much as I would love to fuck her too and be like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you weird?
Are you a robot? Like what's happening
Are
with you?
you a robot?" Okay, and then this is my oh, what's the word? Not ideal, but like if I had to pick my perfect three-way to either watch or be a part of, which would make it a four-way, Laon, Ortegas, and Chapel.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Brick.
Oh man. I don't want to kill anybody. What is this game? Why'd you come up with it? So
You did it.
Oh, you need to do a three-way with someone? What?
Laon, Ortegas, even though I married her earlier, Chapel. Awkward.
Wow. Okay. Fine.
There's just
Moving
a
on.
fun. Ortegas seems like we could hang out and for a long time.
Okay. Andrew.
I'm actually torn. It's very women heavy cast, which is refreshing, but now I'm like, ah, damn it. Pike for sure. I mean, Sam and probably just throwing Spock for hold the camera. I don't know.
Oh, I mean, still fuck Mary Kill Laon Ortega's Chapel.
Oh, it's the
I
three
was
of
just
them?
saying, yeah. I was just saying that's my ideal
Mm,
one, so I had to throw it in there. Sorry.
Lon Ortegas and Chapel. Chapel's still the homewrecker, so I'm gonna kill her. And then and fuck. I would marry Ortegas because I think we're actually quite similar, and then fuck Lon because that just makes more sense.
Mm-hmm. Johnny.
I mean, I'm marrying Chapel. Like it's the same answer.
No.
I might be a little biased based on real life and Jess Bush, but yeah. And then I think I picked Lon something else, so I'll spread the level around a little bit, and I'll F Ortegas and kill Lon this time.
Damn.
But Jess
Okay.
Bush is just a shoe-in for Mary.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
I am
Love
gonna
it.
have to agree with Marion Chapel as well. I feel like Ortega's would be a good fuck, like very fun. And then yeah, I'm gonna kill Lon. Sorry, Lon. So
think
it's
it's
a mercy F, Johnny. You know what happens.
I didn't think of it that way, but apparently so.
Just good karma sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, y'all. We've been talking Trek for over 2 hours now. And I think we've covered pretty much everything. I mean, is there any other last thoughts y'all have before we sign off?
I mean, just a last thing. We often talk toys. Like, where are the toys? Come on,
Dude. So
where are the toys?
Playmates
There are some.
is
Playmates shit the
really
bed.
dropping an effing ball.
Yep.
Mhm.
That doesn't count. We're talking like,
Got my
and the
little
line that
people.
Playmates does have out, like I found movies Kirk on clearance for $5.
Yeah,
Got
so
my
we have the
stock.
next gen ones here, but
He's
they're not
holding a
great.
cat.
But
Eh.
I know it's Funko. But there's only
one,
850 of them, so
I really wish they would have gone
had
with
to.
the same like style as the old Playmates and done what Origins does. Go the same style, but give them better articulation, so whatever they come out with can fit into your old collection if you have it.
Yeah, like they could sit properly.
But also, oh no, I did get I got Gwendala from Prodigy because she's my favorite character from that show. But this is a $15 figure. This is not a $15 figure.
You mean
But I
it's
bought her
better than a
anyway because I like the
$15
character.
figure?
What's
No,
that?
The
it's
other-
not worth it.
No,
Not
I
worth
mean,
$15.
I just don't think that this figure is appropriate for this should be a $10 figure.
I will probably be buying these.
Yeah, I used to
Is
have.
that different? Because I saw the Transporter series ones that Smoked Ham posted, and I need those.
don't
Oh, they're
know.
like glittery half up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
need.
they were very late, but like again, all those Playmates toys are you can get like a lot of them for like crazy cheap. And the bridge playset I had it when I was younger, fantastic.
I had that. It was
Um,
amazing. I had that. I had the transporter room playset. I have the vintage tricorder over here somewhere. I liked the stuff too. I had the phaser, the
Found this.
tricorder, the
Antique.
There is,
communicator pin.
especially for Strange New Worlds, there's a company called I think it's just called EXO or something. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if they're a
Exo 6
Yeah.
just announced
Yeah.
figures. Yep.
Like,
200
they're-
doll hairs.
That's the thing I kept saying. I'm like, well, I cannot fathom buying a whole set of people or multiple. So I'm like, oh, maybe we'll just wait till like my favorite characters. And then they did the Major Kira pre-order maybe like a few weeks ago, and I'm like, once the opportunity came, I'm like, I still can't put that money down. Like, I still can't do it. It's just too much.
The figures that they have shown, especially for next generation, were really impressive. They did a run through on everything with Adam Savage on his YouTube channel. There's a video about like, because they're the 1/12 or 1/6 scale figures, so they're the 12-inch ones. They're essentially like Hot Toys, right? Like
Yeah.
they go for like museum quality replica stuff with their figures from what I saw watching that video. So like the quality of the soft goods is really good. They do different stuff with
for
the
sure.
sculpting and whatnot, but I'm not a 1/12. I'm not a 1/6 guy. I do all 6-inch scale. So I
Yeah,
would
I
never
mean-
pick up something like that, but
And even
I was
Super
happy
7
with
doing
those Playmates ones. I just want their legs to stick out straight rather than like that when
And
you have them in the
also-
seat.
and also just come out. Like, I mean, we know what
Yeah.
Wave 2 is. Like, they sort of it leaked months ago. I think it's like Worf, Q, Jordy, and 7 of 9 coming. So like we know these are coming. They've been showed. Put them on the shelves. And likewise, yeah, like Super 7 has some kind of license with Paramount. They're doing next gen figures now. I might still pick them up, but I'm gonna wait to see if they're painted or if they're like actually nice. I'm gonna like or wait till they go on sale, frankly. Ooh, what's this?
That was for
That's like-
someone who in the chat. Sorry.
Cosmic Legions.
Yeah.
There's the bun.
Ah, so cute.
So cute. Yeah, and we also branching off of this topic, we want to do like separate Star Trek shows. I kind of mentioned this to Andrew yesterday, which I think one of them or a few of them are probably going to be about Star Trek toys, especially
yeah.
if hopefully
Cool.
more come out. Yeah, and we'll have like different kind of topics as well with guests, because I think we want to keep our regular like Star Trek Trek Retrek with
Yep.
just us, and then do special ones with guests.
Yeah.
So we can definitely talk more about it then. If you guys want to pimp yourselves out real quick, where everyone can find you. Brick? You wanna go first?
Sure.
What you have
that
coming
is
up?
the Instagram right there. If you want to go check that out, and over there and on YouTube, I've been on this shorts kick of just taking
You
action
have.
figures and spinning them around and going back to my days of looking at catalogs and the back of cars and just being able to look at these figures. I'm also doing a weekly news show, The Needless Ephemera. We saw every
Love.
Sunday at around 4:45 for about an hour, and I'm hoping that every single episode will be a different co-host, just kind of talking
Pacific.
about
That's
things seen. Yes,
Pacific
Pacific.
time.
Pacific.
Sorry, Pacific. And the only other thing that I'll name is the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom is a toy line, an indie toy line that I'm absolutely in love with, and I've met who Kayla loves to refer to as my boyfriend, highly articulated, and
he
have
is.
this shared love for AWOC, and we do AWOC talk on my channel and his channel.
He
So those are the three things I'll
introduced
plug.
me to the best
And-
thing ever.
Yes, he gave her some corgi butt.
He didn't give me. He just made me
Well,
aware of
he-
them.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Anyways,
He's
that's
in
all.
Canada.
Okay.
Awesome. What about you, Andrew?
And I am
Where can
at,
people find you?
where is this Gayties toys down here? So I'm on Instagram. Likewise, same handle on YouTube, although it's very fledgling and still kind of half-assed, but I am sort of like on Instagram, starting some videos on sort of, just the gay spin on the 80s stuff. And that's me.
Okay.
Love.
Very
Awesome. Well,
good.
thanks y'all for joining us. It has been an absolute blast, and hopefully we'll have y'all on again to talk more Trek in the future on our special episodes.
And whenever season 3 of Strange New Worlds comes.
Yeah.
After the writer's strike.
Pay your people.
It's
gonna
fine.
be
You don't
a
want it rushed. We don't want it rushed.
Nope.
Actually,
Exactly.
from my
writers-
understanding, it is actually less about the wages and more about the studios wanting actors to sign their rights away for use with
Mhm.
AI stuff. So
Yeah.
let's not do that. Like, regardless of
Let's
if it's an
not.
hourly wage or likeness rights, future things, pay people what they're worth, because we wouldn't have these shows without the performers and without the writers. Yeah,
Mhm.
so definitely
Yeah, and
support the
this-
Yep.
strikes.
This whole notion of
Yes.
like, well, if you're an artist, you must suffer and not get paid well, and you're like, that's enough of that.
No,
enough of that.
yeah.
No.
No thanks.
Fucking dumb as, especially
Yep.
when these come like,
I muted the wrong person.
what? You're still muted.
I muted myself. I muted you by accident. You were saying, especially when.
Oh, like the people up top have so much fucking money. Like, divvy it up. Like, does not all need to go to them, and they do fucking nothing anyways. They're not doing the actual work.
No.
Anyways, all right, yeah. Thanks everyone for coming. Make sure you smack that like, smack that subscribe, smack that bell icon. Go follow Brick and Andrew. I just realized I'm mirrored, so it's the other. I don't know, down there. Yeah, thanks for joining us. Until next. Is there anything else I need to say before we sign off?
I don't think so. All the social media
socials.
links for us and everybody on is in the description of the live stream. So go click.
Because we love our guests and we want to make sure they feel respected and loved. And yes. Yes. All right. Until next time, peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.
Bye, y'all.